So yeah, 100%, 100%, 100%. The way Republican media treats progressive is bullshit. It's 100% bullshit. But at the same time, I don't know if you notice, Mediaite, but there is all these people: Briahna Greyjoy, Glenn Greenwald, Jimmy Dore, Friedrich Engels, Karl Marx. They're on the fake left. They're on the fake left because I largely disagree with them. And I know what's a fake left. I've been doing right wing, left wing stuff. I've fake pretended to be everything to get views and stuff. And as somebody who's done everything to get views, I cannot. Young Turk that wants to get views, I cannot get them. So those guys are fake leftists, and sadly they go to Tucker Carlson show and they dance for him, they jiggle their bodies for them. And I know when I was in MSNBC, every night the MSNBC CEO would ask me, the MSNBC, or was it CNBC, I don't remember, he asked me to come on and dance on the table for him, like he belly dancing type. He thought Turks and Arabs are the same, so I would do belly dancing for him like that. You see my belly, it would go like that. And it was really fun. It was genuinely fun. So I know what they're doing. They go on Tucker Carlson show, they dance for him. He's sitting there like Jabba the Hutt, throwing them stuff. Just like, now I do that for Jeffrey Katzenberg. Jeffrey Katzenberg, he's from Hollywood. He's not, he doesn't think Arabs or the Turks the same. So he asks me to do Turkish dancing. I do Turkish dancing for Jeffrey. It's much more fun. So, no, they, Briahna Greyjoy, Jimmy Dore, Glenn Greenwald, Michael Parenti, Christian Parenti, Karl Marx, Friedrich Engels, all fake socialists. I'm the real socialist. You can go to my website for nude pictures of female and male body parts. By the way, that's my spot.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Spar and Brawl. I hope you're having a decent day. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, the one and only Sam, and we're back with another episode of The Progressive World. So here's, as per usual, a quick rundown of the show. You can find timestamps down below, and please like and subscribe. And also yesterday, we recorded another new episode of The Four Corners of Geopolitics. Sam made sure that we explored literally every single corner of this planet. So that video should be up already by now.
Including a barren rock.
Indeed, like literally. The things this guy makes me go through, unbelievable. But yes, exactly. I found out something new about Canada, my country. I didn't know about. So that's welcome. Good. I appreciate that, Sam. And we also have an interview up with Jared Bauer, previously from Substack. Not Substack. What am I saying? What's the name of the show again, Sam? Wisecrack, sorry. He was a co-founder of Wisecrack, and now he's doing his own thing alongside his job and everything. We had a brilliant interview with him, really fun. Talked about him a little bit, his life, then politics, culture wars, and then went into movies. Sam and him had a little debate around Batman that's also fun, and Christopher Nolan. So check that out. Discussion. Hey, that's a debate. But okay, here's a quick rundown. Timestamps down below. Fun, sweet episode, I think, today. So we're going to start with a little bit of the progressive infighting that's going on. Well, you can't really call some of these people. I don't know what to call them, but people like Cenk. So there's the Cenk and Bree one. Vanguard versus Jimmy. I found the Vanguard's take on, Jimmy potentially running for politics and stuff to be a bit bitter, but we'll talk about that. Then the Hills has some new presenters. I don't even get this urge of having to replace a presenter as soon as someone's out. It's like if Sam goes to the restroom here, I'll have to replace him with a new presenter. Oh, Sam's gone for 10 seconds. Who's the next person I can ring? Seems to be the Hills approach. So we'll talk about that and a few stories that they've touched. They have this new libertarian, and she said some of perhaps the funniest things when it comes to healthcare. So definitely have to talk about that. And Sam, we forgot, Khanna went on Bree's show and talked about the Nomiki endorsement, which you definitely shouldn't forget to touch on. Yes, that was pretty funny. And then what else do we have? A couple of other small stories, and Amber Heard did another interview. I didn't want to watch it because I'm getting tired of her, but it was worth those 10 minutes. It was worth those 10 minutes. So we'll talk about that. But all right, Sam, with that out of the way, let's do a very tiny chit chat today, perhaps. And we also have one viewer comment. This person keeps on asking the best questions concerning Iran. And I genuinely want to know about these things. It's like, it's not me, Sam, writing these.
Wait.
I'm not this person who's
Yes,
putting these
I was
questions,
gonna say.
but it really seems like it's me.
It feels like these are questions you've had for a long time from me, or just generally wanted to ask about Iran, and somebody else. By very good questions, you mean, oh, that's what I wanted to ask you. Exactly. So somebody else asked. George is asked.
So we'll get to that. But yeah, how was your week? Anything special?
Not really. It was pretty quiet. I mean, it was a very active week because I was doing the four corners of the geopolitics. I literally went a bit overboard. I feel like next week I'm gonna calm down a bit, but I was literally going a bit overboard there. But I've been obsessed with fucking Court Cam. Court Cam A&E channel.
Man, I forgot to watch that one that you sent me. Oh shit.
Oh, I do next week we do it again and again. The week after, we're gonna do it forever. It's amazing. It's just unbelievable. First of all, really well done. I mean, as a whole, I know there's huge problems with American judicial system and American policing system, but I would imagine just like, like, even though I hate like religion and all that, I would imagine majority of Catholics or majority of Muslims are good people. It's just, I think it leaves the potential for that minority to be bad. So it's the same with the judicial system. Majority or the American judicial system is they're so good, and then the A&E is so good. They caught loads of judges on camera doing bad stuff, or people who are like in position of authority. It's the most and man, humanity is fascinating. I just can't believe people, like some of the people, like it's unbelievable. Yeah, it's so good. It's so good.
No, I mean, I definitely agree that, the US court system probably works a lot of times, but I guess when you make like a statement like that, and that's not really the judicial system, I guess that's more, is that more that when we talk about that, like, let's say more African Americans get caught, even though they go to jail for, smoking weed policing. Or having weed. Yeah, is that like policing and legislative caught. And, or like the focus on them? Yeah, I mean, what example I'm sharing, right?
With getting caught or getting stopped and stuff, that's more policing. Having like a stop and frisk, that's legislature, because that's like having laws like that. Not just that, but for example. But this is just inside the court. So I guess the judge's sentencing. There was a one case of one judge being racist to a lady of like a Latin American background or something. Mm-hmm. And yeah, man, it was he had to resign within 2 months or something. Really? So yeah, I genuinely think, by the way, this has been my long-standing position. I think I stole it. I think I learned from Jon Stewart about it, but I think they should put cameras in every court. Not that I think they should live stream it, but just for like video check, like football or something for later. Just because there is also a case to be made that, like, if somebody's like if they allow random people recording, it could be an intimidation against the witness. And I should have become a lawyer. I made a huge mistake. I love this. It's so interesting. It's fascinating, man. It's so fascinating. So many cases of, by the way, child like support. Like most of the cases I've seen are basically like, either drug possession or people not paying their child support, or having discussion over that. That's been the major.
Wow, that's crazy. And when like parents get divorced and stuff, even young kids, they take the kids to court, and like the judge and stuff asks the kid, which parent do you want to be with and stuff. That's crazy.
No, but that's in Iran. Is that in America?
In America too. And I'm not saying that it's bad. I mean, sometimes you're in some situations that there is no easy answer. I'm just saying how crazy that is, though, in general, but not that it shouldn't be done or anything. Yeah, no, I've heard in America as well. I mean, that's the case that I heard. I mean, I believe Luke Thomas that I always bring up, he said that when his parents got divorced and he was kids, if I recall correctly, he went to court and had to pick who to live with and things like this. If I'm not mistaken.
I would blame the parents that allowed the situation. I don't know. I don't know. I've never been to a, but it's weird to me to be in to have a child with somebody and then get to a point where you can't even compromise in a sense that doesn't anyway. But yeah, there is a lot of, to be honest, that man, I don't know what I'm saying. The court Kam has really opened my eyes. There is so many crazy people. It's unbelievable. Just there is so many mental people out there. And again, I think the pandemic of mental crisis, that's a real thing. But I don't know, because most of these people would not accept the fact that they're mentally challenged. So I don't know what can we do. Like, it's so. Yeah. Oh man, there was one guy. First of all, there was one guy who was like begging. He, like, instead of standing behind the podium, he would come. He came to the judge. He was like, I think he was a Greek guy or something. I don't know, but he was like, it was Eastern European or Greek. Like, yeah, judge, please, please, and put his hand on the judge's podium, please, please, please. And then judge was like, no, I can't do that. You can't do this here. And and then he loses hope, and he just makes the run for it. He tries to run. I don't know. What do you think? How far do you think he can get? Like and then his grandfather is there, and his grandfather is like, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. This was such a bad boy. I know. And the judge is like, he jumped very fast, and the grandfather, feeling the pride there, is like, yes, he's very athletic boy. I must say, very athletic boy. What is and there is one judge I have to give a shout out. I think his name was Judge John Hurley. And by the way, where do you think the most of the funniest and the craziest, and frankly,
Florida.
most of the food? Yes. Yes.
Man, Florida really seems like it's becoming like, I mean,
what is going on?
I mean, I'm not even talking about the crazy stuff. I'm just talking about how big, and I know Florida has always been like a big, important, state in the US and all that. But I mean, now I feel like it's just reached a level of, at the same level of New York, California in terms of importance. Maybe it's always been like this. I don't know, but now it seems like
at least culturally, But I would say, Florida is, they need to just become independent. For God's sake. I mean, you're geographically as well. It doesn't make sense to be anyway. But man, Florida. And there's this one judge in Fort Lauderdale, and John Hurley. He's so funny. He's such a funny judge. He's so nice as well. He's so nice. He's very polite. Oh man, I wish I could be like him. Like, he's so witty, and just these sovereign citizens come in front of him, and sovereign citizens.
God, that's so funny.
Yeah, man, there are these people who they believe that they found a loophole in the law, and because their name is written in legal documents capitalized, so they're trying to say that the judge has no authority over them. And this guy deals with them. So it's just, I love court Kam. I hope there's a camera in every court everywhere in the world.
I mean, these kind of shows, and I always get the same. Now, whether it's like a semi-fictional one or a real one, I mean, I already said this, anytime I'm watching it with like my wife, we're like, shit, I should have become a lawyer. And then you also see a cool detective. You're like, lawyer detective. Yeah. And then there's usually a cool like doctor. So, okay, fine, lawyer, doctor, detective. Can I be that?
Oh, they brought in a psychologist. Oh shit!
Okay. Lawyer, doctor, psychologist,
archaeologist. Oh fuck! No,
you want to go
detective.
But man, I was telling you yesterday, like the most entertaining piece of entertainment I have ever heard, watch, listen is Serial season 1, and I'm sure everybody has heard of that show. I mean, amazing. I listened to it at least twice. So entertaining. I mean, I really feel bad for the person if it really seems like, there was no evidence for putting this kid in jail. So, there's that aspect, but very entertained from the show nevertheless. And season 2, you might like it because they go to Cleveland, and it's just like they just follow a few people who like go in and out of the court case. And things that happen to them, they're back in. It's pretty good.
I need to check it out. But I listened to season 1, but yeah, I never listened to season 2.
But season 2 is unrelated to season 1. I mean, they just they do something different.
Oh, is it not even the same case?
No, nothing to do with that. I mean, that case they explored like everything they were. They even like measured like the pedals outside the guy's house back in '98. I don't know how they like found it retroactively. Like everything they explore everything that there is. I mean, yeah. So
okay, all right. I'm a bit. It's the thing with court cam is it's just such a small bit.
Yeah,
it's more that got a bit just like, okay, I'm not paid. Okay, this is what detectives get paid. Like going through all the boring, like just give me the important stuff. Okay, just.
But no, I found that show to be extremely entertaining. But yeah, I love these kind of shows.
But they were supposed to make a TV show off of that, or a movie or something. I think it was optioned or something.
They contacted me. I was like, no, don't ruin the art. It's already really good.
Progressive word. I'm busy. I'm discussing a barren fucking rock with Sam about between Denmark and Canada. Fuck off. I am busy.
I swear to God. But okay, Sam, should we move on to this viewer comment?
Yeah, sure. But before viewer's comment, just wanted to say, I hope, I haven't alienated one of our long-standing viewers and stuff with my recent bad behavior, but just giving a shout out to Carbon Moth. I've gotten so used to her comments. I feel like I need to check. But I hope.
No, I just realized too, you're right. It's been at least a week.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so I was just saying that, apologies if I.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's been like a week. Haven't heard from her. You just made me realize. But hopefully,
if
there was
I
a thing
hope
with
it's,
the dog.
to be honest. Yeah, that's the thing. I hope it's to do with. It's nothing serious.
I have a feeling like if Carrot Mouth would really get, like if there's something that we said that she really didn't like, she would put it in the comment section. So I don't think it's something too serious like that. And
I think she would be too nice, to be honest.
No, I think she would mention like what it is. I think that's what I think. Okay. But remind me, there was 1 week also Artie. We didn't hear much from Artie, and then he told us he was sick. Although that's no excuse not to watch our videos, but I let that one slide.
Jesus, you're going in the hospital bed, but you don't have mobile data.
Yeah, do they take your phone away?
Well, you can use your mobile phone in an MRI machine. It's completely fine.
The science backs it. Yeah, no, you're right though. Good eye there. And then so this George comment is a follow-up to a previous comment. And the previous one, he asked Sam, he was like, with all due respect, Sam, how can you be a lefty and both also, support monarchy? And then Sam, this is the response that he gave. I'm just going to summarize and then we'll move on to the question. He said that, well, I think that once we've managed to achieve or put in place all kinds of, leftist policies that we'd like in society, he thinks that a way of stabilizing society is to then have a monarchy, right? Did I a monarchy that, of course, you have a parliament next to it. It's not that the monarchy decides what happens. A constitutional monarchy. Is there anything else you want to add about the whole stabilizing part that you believe?
I think it's the most stable system, and I do think it's more inclined towards what I would call leftist policies, or what policies I would care about, which are free housing, free education, free healthcare, free speech.
That's Sam's take, and I mean, I haven't done any research, so I don't know it scientifically at all. So I mean,
it's not really scientific.
Yeah, I know, but basing it, let's say, on past even examples or periods or things like that. But I mean, I don't even know that. However, I mean, if you ask me, I wouldn't perhaps care much for the monarchy, but if it's a society that, is much closer to implementing a lot of policies that I want at the same time, I wouldn't care. And I believe there are, I mean, it's not just England, which has like a queen, right? I mean, I know that there's Holland and of course there's like Monaco, putting those aside, but Netherlands, but also the Scandinavian countries, right? The ones who come up in every discussion about
Japan,
the US,
Malaysia.
Yeah. So, I mean, and there are a lot, but I mean, of course, Sam is not saying that they should take all the decisions. So
you could argue Canada, Australia.
Okay, well that that's because of the same fucking queen. Yeah, that's
it's
true.
an imperial system. Yeah, it's the you can have
although in Canada that's so funny. I don't even think they come to Canada every now and then. They like just send the other guy. They're like, this one that we've disowned, yeah, they're gonna come there. Like, you disowned them. That's right. That's why they're coming to Canada. They're prepping Andrew right now. No, I don't think.
But even Harry, I mean, at first he went to Canada, but then after a while he was like, okay, I'm going to America. This is just, it's too boring, too cold.
Yeah, that's true.
You know
Man, have you back when I was a kid, I used to love this movie, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. And it had Steve Martin in it, and I've told you. And there's one part that's so funny so what's the name of the other huge actor who's in it? Michael Caine.
Yes.
So Michael Caine and him, they're doing like a thing, and he puts Steve Martin in like the basement of like this kind of palace-like or gigantic mansion that he lives, right? And he just keeps him there, and then they bring a woman and they kind of fooling her that this is like the mentally like challenged person in the family, so I take care of him. So I feel like at the palace they do the same thing with Andrew. Like Andrew's like kept in the basement of like the palace somewhere. The queen goes every now and then, says hi to him. That's just the image I get.
I think I feel like Philip, when he was alive, that was the situation with him in the last few years after he ran over people with his car and shit. So it's very like, it's not, I wouldn't put it past royal family to
I mean, I think he deserves, he should be kept as far away as others.
I'm not clear what he's just he seems like, I don't know what happened with him. He needs to certainly see somebody about his sweating situation. But I would say it's not a scientific take I have or anything that. It's more of a, because with social sciences, especially when it comes to this type of thing, it's basically a position. It's a
you can base it on you can base it on like past context or case in a way that you've studied. I mean, you can say that and give examples in that way. But you're right. I shouldn't have said that scientific.
No, I'm just,
I hate when people say that like that anyway. So I'm just myself, not you.
I'm just saying I'm not gonna basically I'm putting a caveat that I
mean, it's not even possible to prove such things, quote unquote, scientifically. But okay, let's get to George's follow-up question. I love it. So first he said, I see what Sam means. He views the monarchy as a representative unifier, but I would argue that Shah, so the Iranian Shah, alienate the Arab population of Iran. I think Shiism is more of a unifier than Persian nationalism. Maybe Iran can be more unified using a mix of Shiism plus Iranian nationalism. Persian nationalism can scare away minorities, just like how Ataturk and the current Turkish regime is alienating Kurds, Armenians, Arabs. I wonder what Sam thinks about Reza Pahlavi. So that's just a bonus one. So maybe the bonus one you can put, we can come back to it in a second, but maybe the rest of the comment address them. I mean, one thing that comes to my mind, and Sam knows these things so much more, so I'm going to let him speak in a second, is that the Shiism, about Iran, I think it's fair to say that you know a lot more. The Shiism about unifier, I mean, based on the experience that I've seen in Iran, and I'm not saying that, of course, doesn't count for every corner of Iran, I don't see that as really working in Iran that strong. Maybe it would help with parts of the population, but maybe I'm not understanding it well. I'll let you speak, and then if I have something to add, I'll jump in.
No, I kind of disagree with you there, but let me explain.
Mm-hmm.
We have to differentiate, in my view, between Persian nationalism, which is really a very, very modern thing, really post-Iranian Revolution thing. Really, this idea that Iranians started calling themselves Persian, and then more recently we have all these groups that are Persian Empire, blah, Persia, and they are really new. So Persian nationalism should be separated from Iranian nationalism, because Iranian nationalism, in my view, well, let's see, and then Shiaism. Shiaism, in my view, this is a very hotly contested debate, probably one of the most hotly controversial debates within Iranian and Islamic historiography, is the roots of Shiaism. So it's a very, very contested debate, and there are very different people who talk about that. I highly recommend Said Amir Arjomand, a famous Iranian writer, but also I might, is it a Stephanie Cronin, or maybe I'm mixing her with another historian. But anyway, these are like some of the people. Tom Holland, I like Tom Holland's book on the matter, but his books are very controversial. But Abbas Amanat, one of my favorites. But in my view, and it's a very controversial debate, Shiaism is nothing really more than an aspect of Iranian nationalism. Shiaism, according to many historians, is very much first of all, its roots there are some who would argue Shiaism has its roots in Khorramites, and then before that Mazdakites, and there were these Southerners called Qaramate, if I'm not mistaken. These were groups that were, some people argue the Shiaism is rooted in them. And at least two of them are heavily influenced by pre-Islamic Iranian religions or beliefs, right? Mazdakites is the one I find the most interesting. It's a proto-socialist movement, for example. Then, so that's the root part. Besides the root part, it is clear that Shiaism was popular in Iranian lands. Let's forget about the roots of the thing. It's clear that it was popular in Iranian lands, and historically it was used as an Iranian thing from like medieval times onwards, as a sort of national or country. I wouldn't call it national identity, imperial identity against other identities, and they used it against Iran. So it was a back and forth. So there is that historical baggage. Theoretically, if you look at Shiaism, it's almost basically a form of monarchy. It's all Iranian, like it's so close to Iranian ideals of monarchy, divine right to rule, which was again like an Iranian thing that then got transported to Roman Empire and all that. And Iranians probably stole parts of it from Babylonians, that type of thing. So the Shiaism, the idea of a holy, blood, and the idea that, like, for example, this is a part where it's forgotten, like the idea that in Iranian legend, it's not a real history. This is part of like the history that people think of. Like there is a marriage between the Ahle Bayt, or the people of the house of the Prophet, and the people of the house of Sasan, which was the pre-Islamic, the grandson of the Prophet marries. And so there is intermingling. The idea of, for example, Imamzadeh, or child of a saint, child of a, Imam, child of a,
and these
Imam
are,
is more than
sorry, and these are things that are unique to Shiism, right? They have not, they don't Sunni, which are Muslims, this doesn't cross their world. This doesn't have anything
Sufi,
with them.
There is 4 different schools in Sunnism. One of them is a bit closer to Shiism, so allows for some of the things. But no, it's just not. I mean, the whole 12. Even within, and then again, Shiism. We are talking about one sect of Shiism, 12er Shia. Shiism, it's just the whole Shiism is basically like whoever you believe. So it's.
But you're talking about the one in Iran. In Iran, there's one that dominates it, right?
Like it dominates like 70-60%, because there's many secretive sects to Shiism. They don't openly discuss for example, the Syrian version of Shiism, until recently we knew very little about their beliefs, the one that Bashar al-Assad and stuff follow. So Shiism in Iran, though, is really an aspect of Iranian imperial sort of like the idea of, you know, the bloodline, the child of a holy man, you know, Imamzadeh are the people that are uh, technically, or, you know, there are many people in Iran called Sayyid. I think you might be one, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, they are, it means that, yeah, basically it's debated that it originally even meant the child of an imam, or was it originally of a sort of a aristocrat child, basically, you know, noble child.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, I mean, the penetration of like images and idols in Iran, it's just compared to Sunni religion or compared to any other Islamic sect. I would say that Sufi Islam, depending on the sect, it can be very similar to Shia. But so if we look at Shiism as an aspect of Iranian nationalism, or Iranian nationalism, or Iranian imperial cult, I would say no, Iranian imperial cult is a bit more inclusive. Although I would not deny that I think Muhammad Reza Shah, the second Shah's biggest mistake was, trying to emulate the secularism of the West, or at least what he thought, secularism of France, really, because England isn't secular. In England, the Queen is the head of the church as well, just kind of like, which was the case in Iran with the Qajars and Safavids and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, not many countries try to be as, you know, explicitly secular as France is.
France or Turkey, the thing, but you know, Shah was very much, and I think that was a mistake, trying to separate, because you cannot separate Shiism from Iran. It is the most ingrained, like, because Shiism is rooted in Iran. You know, it's I can get into the whole civil war, first Islamic like civil war or the second Islamic civil war. It's just so clearly Shiism and Iran have been mixed. It's just I mean, even the conquest of Iran, which Iranians love to make a big deal about, you could make a big case that there was quite significant cooperation among Iranians with, because again, it's an imperial cult. Anybody can be emperor as long as they're not you know, they're, you know, it wasn't, for Iranians at least, it wasn't such a racial thing or cult. Anyway, so it was about the divine glory or whatever it was that the god bestowed upon the king. But about the comparison, about what Sam thinks of Reza Pahlavi.
Well, hold on, before we get to Reza Pahlavi. So for two things, actually, let's go back to the very beginning, perhaps. The Persian versus Iranian one, can you explain that a bit? Because that's a bit counterintuitive. So you're saying that, you know, the Mars, and I've heard you say this before, I know this is not the first time, but, you know, like the famous Mars Jobrani joke that, you know, Iranians try to, like, you know, they don't want to say, oh, Iranian, we're Persians and blah, 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 to come off, you know, sounding better in like the West or, you know, in the States and all this, you know, trying to separate themselves from terrorism and these kind of views, right? But you're saying that this whole thing of identifying as Persian rather than identifying, right, and saying Iranian is actually more historic than Persian. Am I understanding this correctly? Could you expand on this a little bit more?
Historically, Iranians have always pre-Islamic times have called Iran or Iran. We have internally documents everything. Iran or Iran Shahr, city of Iran, like city then meant everything. The polity of Iran, let's say.
Okay.
But Greeks.
So this is what 2,000 years ago, 2,500.
Yeah, this is always until then you had Greeks and stuff at the same time. Greeks and Europeans started referring to Iran as Persians because the first tribe of Iran they came in contact with was the Persians. They would talk about Medes too, but not so much the other tribes, right? But then times pass, years, you know, British Empire, like we are moving, and it's still the same thing. We are calling it Iran, and we are in British Empire times, and they call it Persia. Then Reza Pahlavi actually requests the word to stop calling Iran Persia and refer to it as Iran. He was trying back then to separate Iran from its like bad historical past that he saw as backwards, like, you know, So he was trying to modernize Iran. So he said, don't call it Persia anymore, call it Iran. And it's a much more appropriate name because Persians are a minority in Iran. If it's like calling, it's it's like Netherlands being called
That's
Holland.
fascinating. That's fascinating. So like Iranians aren't Persians. Persians are Iranian. I mean, an Iranian can be all Persian is Iranian, but not all Iranians are Persians. So like Persian is a minority. Like who's a Persian in Iran? Is that even considered a thing?
Persian is speaker.
Everyone speaks, but Persian speaker is just Farsi.
Everywhere. Yeah,
Persian and Farsi, same thing. It's the language of Iran.
There is no majority in Iran, but it's like Turks are about 20-30% or more, frankly, if you count.
True,
like
so Turks are not Persian.
Turks are by far.
So we're not technically Persian. Or you're not Persian.
We are Persian speaking. We are Persianized. No, we are Persianized. We are like, just like Ottoman Empire and all the empires in Iran, all the empires of India, Iran, and Turkey, they were all Persianized, as in they would speak Persian, but they were ethnically Turk, Mongol. I'm ethnically Gilani and Azeri. You're, I think, Azeri. There's Easterners Easterners are Persian, sorry, but you got Southeast, they're not Persian, they're Baluch. You got Arabs in the Southwest, you got Kurds,
that is
you
so
got
true.
so
but that's very interesting. But
Kurds,
I never thought of that. Putting aside the obvious ones like Arabs or Armenians, I thought everybody else would be like Persian, but I mean, no,
everybody else is Iranian.
Iranian,
like Armenians are Iranian. Make a case. The Armenians, you could make a case linguistically they are not, at least.
But I mean, they have
but again,
passport and all this also depends how you look at these things.
Exactly, and document again, like 2,000 years ago, they were referred to as Iranians, and so were Arabs. Again, Arabs, you can say not linguistically, but they, again, it's more of a citizenship. Again, it's like being like a Roman citizen. That's why I'm saying Iranian or China to an extent, Russia to a lesser extent, America to a, I would say, lesser extent. These are not national identities, really. They are. I mean, America tries to be a national identity, which I find really weird. But like a lot of people wanted to. But so that's what I mean about the difference between Iran and Persia.
Brilliant, very interesting. So, learning a lot about myself. But also
some of my claims are contested. I would say.
Got you. And before going to the Reza Pahlavi stuff, so how would you just summarize your second part about so is it more unifying if you mix Shiism with Iranian nationalism? I think if I understood you correctly, you're Shiism is part of Iranian nationalism, so that already exists. I don't think you can separate it. That already exists. And going further into, and I guess my initial comment was that leaning further into not cultural parts of Shiism, but really into religious parts of Shiism. I don't think that would, spread widely. That's kind of what I was trying to say, although I don't even know about that. But so you're saying Shiism is already part of Iranian nationalism.
Yes, and I would say there is such a fragment. There is a general huge amount of respect, even among the more secular Iranians now, even to this, maybe not the new generation, for the holy family, for the Prophet's family, for the Ali, Imam Hussein, Imam Ali, that type of thing. You don't kid with even people who are they don't they drink, they eat pork, but they like that. It's woven into the the most secular poets in Iran. They use them as an example in their poetry. So it's just culturally woven, to the thing. I think,
and everyone's called Ali as well, so I don't know if that.
Yeah, it's very difficult. And every other one is called Hussein. So it's difficult to get.
Ali is like the Muhammad of.
Ali is, and it's in Iran we don't have middle, but we have many names that are two parts, and half of those, more than half of them are Ali based. So like Amir Ali, Ali Asghar, Ali Akbar. But it's all Ali based. But so it's so culture. I don't think you can have Iranian nationalism without Shia. I'm not one of those people who thinks we can move beyond religion, even though I'm not a big fan. But
Yeah.
but the Shiism is so fragmented, and Shiism has naturally always been an opposition. And I would say Iranian revolution was a break with the tradition of Shiism. I mean, people can look at Sistani in Iraq. Shia, like Khomeini, was a radical. Shia generally stay out of politics because they were smart. They were smart enough to know that by getting into politics, all you do is, you know, destroy the religion itself. Because, you know, that's what that's the old saying that as soon as you know, religion mixes with politics, it gets religion. You know, it's you as soon as you have the power, people associate you with responsibility and all that. So, and I would say Shiism, for example, is crucial to Iranian monarchy. So you can't like have that one without the other. And the reason why I wanted to move to Reza Shah was that, for example,
Pahlavi, I thought you said. Oh no, you want to talk about Reza Shah first?
No, Reza Pahlavi is Reza Shah.
Oh, Reza Pahlavi is. Oh, Reza Shah was also called Reza Pahlavi, but his son is also called Reza Pahlavi.
His son is called Muhammad Reza Pahlavi.
Ah, okay. So
and then his grandson, the one who's now alive, is called Reza Pahlavi.
Oh yeah, I thought that's who the question is about.
Oh, is it? Maybe it's about Reza. Oh yeah, you're right. Maybe it's about the grandson.
I think it's written like this. I think it's about.
Sorry, him. I'm living in a different period of time.
Yeah, so explain who Reza Pahlavi is quickly.
All right. Okay, Reza Shah was the Iranian king at the same time that Ataturk was in Turkey, and then his son was the one whose revolution happened.
So 1930s. That's when Reza Shah came to power, right? So like before that, there were the Qajars, then like a little vacuum, revolutions, things like this, and he was a military person, and he kind of took over.
No, not really.
No, I thought he was a general. I thought Reza Shah was a general.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was prime minister before he became. He was the head of military. But the Qajars never. There was a constitutional revolution. Qajar king signed the constitutional thing. Then we had a parliament, and then after like 10-20 years during the parliament and stuff, Reza Shah slowly goes from minister of war to prime minister, and then he tries to change the system to presidential. He fails because of Shia clergy, because Shia clergy, rightly so, and Mossadegh, that everybody on the left
loves. One and only.
Him and the Shia clergy are the only one who is standing in his way of making Iran a presidential system, because you know, in my view, both of them correctly see that as a break with tradition. But then, you know, then we have and then he's removed by the British. Then we have his son. Then the revolution. Sorry, you want to?
No. It's fascinating. And then one thing, it's also so. In the Reza Shah kingdom and stuff, they didn't even have any claim to royal blood, right? Like they weren't related to the Qajars whatsoever. I mean, they were
royal blood in Iran is always that's the thing. In Iran, it's it was the divine right. Like the righteous must rule type of bullshit. I'm not agree, but it's not necessary to like in some sect it is. For example, Qajars and before them Safavid believed that their king was from the divine line and was the literal God manifest. But within Iranian tradition, it's always been the case that, you know, there is a sort of a similar to sort of a royal court or something, and they elect the best candidate in terms of usually it comes down to who kills most people. So, you know, but it was never royal blood was necessary for some sects, not for others. So it's always been famously Reza Shah, it's famous because Europeans were shocked by that, because Reza Shah hated all the fuss and all that in his coronation, which is very simple. Teymurtash, his minister of the court, he had the crown on his hand, and Reza Shah just walks in with military attire, picks up the crown, puts it on his head, sits down, take a picture. Okay, let's go. And Europeans were shocked because in Europe you always have a pope or the archbishop of something doing that, but you know, in Iran they just go fuck. Okay, took the pictures. Let's go.
So now we're going to talk about Reza Pahlavi, which is that person's technically grandson, who's a 61-year-old man alive, living in the States, I believe. So yeah, what are some things that come to your mind when someone asks you about him?
Yeah, Reza Pahlavi, the grandson and the son of Muhammad Reza Shah, is a frankly disgrace. I don't know how
Oh,
else to
really?
put it. He's a
Why?
disgrace and a disappointment to his family, to his
Oh
country,
shit! Whoa,
to
whoa,
his
whoa.
everything. I mean,
Really?
even yeah, I have
Is
a
he even
huge
that
amount.
prominent for you to even have
Not
such
re-
a strong
I mean,
like what has he
he
done publicly or whatnot?
he recently gave an interview in which he talked. I was gonna do it for our show, but I thought exactly
Hmm.
who knows about this motherfucker. But he gave an interview recently. The meaning of opposition changed. I don't want to become a king. I just believe in a referendum in Iran. Go fuck yourself. And frankly, you're disappointed. First of all, a king who doesn't want to be a king is not worth to be called, or a heir to a throne or whatever he is. I mean, you're worthless. A king's position shouldn't be like, I don't know how Iran should be. I don't know what
Yeah.
is right for Iran. Your position shouldn't be that. That's my. I mean, I know this is getting into my
Mhm.
own political preference, so this is not a
And man, and
analysis.
referendums. Anytime you hear that, like,
That's
referendums
biggest
sound
bullshit.
like a good, they can be
Yeah.
a good thing, they can work, but technically in reality, from what I've seen, they're just, putting Switzerland
He
aside, it really seems like something that is used in the opposite way of how it should really be
do you
used.
remember? Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think referendums are just in many cases just
In many
frank
cases, 100%.
bullshit, and in this case is a code word for regime change and all
Hmm.
that.
Yeah.
So even if there is I believe all regimes change all the time, and Iranian regime will evolve as they have so far during the last 30 years. And I don't think America can play a positive role, as they have not ever played a positive role in Iranian internal. Well, sometimes they have. I don't want to go overboard. But anyways, he's a disgrace because first of all, he was a piece of shit who was just after earning money for many years. He was quiet, pretty much. His mother, Queen, is actually the Queen is a very respectful woman. She stayed in France. She didn't go to an enemy country, basically America, and reside there. Again, I have no problem with Iranian citizens going, but if you are heir to the throne and you openly publicly oppose the
Yeah.
government, when you go to America, you're a traitor,
Yeah.
in my view. And I would like to echo what Anushiravan Zahedi has said. Anushiravan Zahedi was the guy we talked about before. He passed away recently. He was a prime minister of the previous Shah, the Shahu revolution happened, and he was a ambassador to the US. He was closest aide to the Shah, and he called him something along the lines of, it was in Persian. He called him along the lines of a ungrateful,
Mhm.
uh, undeserving, useless piece of shit. And I think he was right. On Twitter, he called him that, and I think he was right. He's become a fucking. He was a piece of shit who was always after money. They have a construction company in Canada or some bullshit like that, and then uh, he kept some of his dignity throughout the years until the Trump years. After Trump years, Trump administration, Bolton and Pompeo, these idiots fooled him into thinking there is a real chance they're gonna like replace Iranian regime. And since then, he keeps coming on TV giving bullshit interviews talking about human rights abuses. Well, maybe you should move out of America before you start opening your mouth about you. And again, if he goes to Europe and starts doing something, I would have much more respect than hanging out with Mike Pompeo and
Yeah.
bullshit like that and talking about human rights. Go shove it up your ass. And yeah, so that's why I have no problem with a king from any other like royal. We have many pretty much in Iran, because Iranian history is sold. Everybody has some sort of royal connection in their family, so it's not that difficult to find somebody as a figurehead. And yeah, he's a disgrace. The grandson is a disgrace and I would add his grandfather, talking of Shia religion and all that. After he couldn't get the presidency, the way he won he started becoming king, and they had the the Shia ceremony that they hit themselves in Tehran, and he came in front of everybody. He took off his shirt, and he started. This was before he became the king. He was prime minister.
Yeah.
And he, so again, these are intertwined. I don't.
Yeah. No, you're right.
It's like I don't think you can have the British monarchy without Church of England. These same. I think it's the same here. And but this guy is a disgrace. Is a genuine disgrace. A pathetic Democrat level hack. It's a disgrace that his father was a genuine king. A politician. With all his failures, but he's just he's at the same level as a fucking Atlantic writer or something. It's pathetic.
Oh no. Okay, thank you for that, Sam. That was brilliant. And thank you, George. You're helping me learn about my roots. Maybe I can
by the way,
weaponize some of it. No, I'm joking.
I would like to add, I hate the comparison with Turkey and Ataturk especially. Just to clarify there why, I'm just saying, Reza Shah was an imperial king. We never carried out any acts of genocide against Armenians, Kurds, or in fact, you could argue that Iranian state was built by Armenians, less so Kurds. But Arabs were at the forefront of some of the people I'm talking about, were very proudly, come from Arab tribes in Iran. So they were at the fore. And Ataturk was, there is always this comparison made. And I'm not a fan because Ataturk was engaging in a nationalistic project, which with all its things, Reza Shah, with all his faults and with all his brutalities, they killed a lot of people. He was not engaged in that type of project. So I think Arab population wouldn't be so alienated by that because Arabs have always been Iranian, since medieval times, at least. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, again, everybody can tell I know very little from Iran, but based on what I've heard and seen, okay, putting the Kurds aside a little bit, I haven't heard that, discrimination or exactly, or even moving into acts of mass murder, or if not genocide, having been committed against Iranian Armenians or Iranian Arabs or any other kind of ethnicity
Iranian Armenians
who lives in Iran.
Iranian Armenians were target of massacres. I believe the first Armenian genocide museum is in Isfahan in the world, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, the Iranian Armenians were target of massacres by Ottomans. So were Iranian Assyrians, all Christians. So and Kurds arguably, Kurds are definitely a subgrouping of Iranian languages and Iranic people. So you could argue massacres against Kurds.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that, Sam, and thank you, George. Brilliant question. Looking forward to your follow. Looking forward to your follow-up questions. George, we'll see what George, if he has any other questions, but if you do, please.
George, call me up. Let us be friends. I think we don't need cameo. We can talk between among us.
Unnecessary middleman.
Unnecessary bureaucracy. But again, I would like to add the huge caveat of everything I said is a personal take, a very personal take on history. I tried to say some of the people who I read and all that, but it's very contested, especially early Shia history is hugely contested. So.
Definitely. Okay, all right. Let's get the real party started, Sam. All right, Sam, let's move on to some, progressive infighting. And I mean, it's so hard for me to say progressive because even Cenk can be a progressive policy-wise. He could perhaps, but he's just a progressive piece of shit. Maybe I'll just
he's not really.
I don't even care about his policies at this point. I mean, he's just
a piece of shit.
But anyway, for the sake of this segment, we'll call it progressive infighting. Everyone, please. I'm sure you're all aware of where we stand on Cenk, but get us going.
Before that, I thought just to be substantial at first, let's talk about this elephant in the Zoom by Ryan Graham on Intercept, tweeted by Glenn Greenwald. That's how it came to my attention. I highly recommend reading it, even though it is probably I must say, I'm not a big fan of Ryan Grimm's writing.
Hmm.
It's not the greatest. Like it's very boring, to be honest, and it just starts with the same. I'm generally not big fan of writing in newspapers, and especially I hate this starting with an anecdote. Even though this anecdote, it's not like an opinion piece where it starts with a personal anecdote it's an anecdote that has to do with the story. It's an example, but I don't find it engaging. I find it just tell me like, because it's substantive, just give me some bullet points in the beginning, then go to the
Yeah.
anecdotes and highlight your point. But it's a very good article about how infighting among progressive organizations like ACLU, others, there's a couple of such a long article. There is one gutter munch gutter what is, I forget, but anyway, it talks about how these organizations have been getting involved in internal fighting, and that's partially maybe responsible for the fact that the left is not as strong as it should be, considering the financial input that people put into the Bernie Sanders campaign.
Yeah.
All these organizations following the huge amount of protest and all that. So very, very long article, but worth taking a look, I think.
Man, like, I mean, now I know why you see him less on the Rising. I mean, how people take like book leaves? I mean, he should have taken an article leave for this. I'm confident to say this is by far the longest article I've ever seen, maybe by like factor of 5.
No. The Atlantic one.
Get out of
was
here,
longer.
man. This is 3 to 4 times longer than any long Atlantic article.
No, don't you remember the one about the online Tower of Babel thingy? That was 30 pages.
This one would also come out to 30 pages.
Okay, yeah, but I mean, I'm saying
it's surreal. I mean,
it's
50 pages, Sam. 50 pages. If the same way I save it to my computer. I mean, this one has more
live fact checking there. Fact checking.
But Jesus, you've read it. I unfortunately just found out about today and did it. Even you would have had to send me this like a month ago.
I must say I skimmed it. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, we are 3 now.
Seriously.
Yeah,
but okay.
I mean, but let's get to fun now.
Yeah, let's.
So, piece of shit. So, what is wrong with this guy? Tell me, maybe
he's pretty much.
Let's say
where was he? Did he go on a radio show? Was it a podcast?
No, Mediaite is a media. It's a pretty one of those shitty, like middle of the road, like kind of reminds me of Vice, but I don't know enough about their content. But Mediaite is one of those like media organizations that produces content, I think, or produces material covering media. So he was on Mediaite, and he went on to say Briahna Greyjoy and Glenn Greenwald and Jimmy Dore, and he didn't say Matt Taibbi. I was surprised. They are on the fake left that Dave Rubin started this sort of I was on the left, but now I'm on the right thing. And specifically, So
I mean, it's the Brie one that really got everyone's attention because he kind of lumped in Brie with this and then called them the fake.
I disagree
fake
with
left.
That characterization.
This attack was so lazy. So go ahead.
I disagree with your characterization of lumping Brie in.
He started like listing them all together, and then he said, and Brie has now joined this group of fake left.
Okay. But I don't understand, and I saw that on Vanguard and on KT Halper. People are defending Briahna Greyjoy exclusively, and by omission. Does that I find extremely weird to say that. I don't care, by the way, if Glenn identifies as a right winger or if Jimmy Dore identifies as a right winger or left. I don't give a shit about how people identify. But as people who are doing content production work or journalistic work, whatever you cannot say they are right wingers, and you cannot, in my view, say that they are in the same level or they've done the same thing as Dave Rubin. Dave Rubin is a hack who, like, I'm sorry, but nobody. Again, I disagree with the Briahna characterization as well. But I don't understand why everybody's just focused on that, as if Jimmy Dore and Glenn. Oh, come on, they are.
I feel you. I think the reason is actually it's an extension of the example that you just gave, which is like forget, Cenk can think whatever he can, but just lumping these people together, and I'll say why. Because Dave Rubin, you gave a good example, right? I mean, Dave Rubin is like completely like psycho. He's like in a different kind of, even the things that he says, like the thing that Cenk made fun of,
idiot.
like that classical liberal stuff that he brought up.
Yeah,
that's Dave Rubin. I've never heard anybody else say these things, right?
I've never say any of those three people say I have left the left. They have said,
Yeah.
oh, I disagree with that person. Like
Yeah.
that. They never said the bullshit that they've never went on PragerU. This is why I left the left,
Yeah.
because I was a gay man, but I wasn't, accepted for my idea. Oh, fuck you.
Yeah. So that's one part of lumping. Then the rest, and I mean, I might agree more with Glenn Greenwald and Jimmy Dore even. It's not that. But I think like when you look at their politics, Brie, I mean, she's vocal in a number of things that she kind of opposes. I'm guessing what Glenn would say and what Jimmy Dore would say. Whereas Jimmy Dore and Glenn, I think they would say some stuff, but they're closer. So I just thought that Bree's actually like what she says.
Sure, but which stuff they say that is right wing?
I'm not saying it's right wing or anything like that. I'm just saying that like Bree's politics to me seem like quite obviously a bit different than Glenn Greenwald and Jimmy Dore's. I'm not passing any judgment. And those two are a bit closer, although everyone is different from one another, right? I'm sure if you start going issue by issue, everyone's different. But Bree is just so obviously, and like, I mean, she talks to Glenn and stuff. Of course, she doesn't talk to Jimmy, but it's like in a bit like a discussion / like debate, like points can come up. That's why it just felt even more ridiculous. And overall, it was just such a lazy, like mainstream media, like Republican or Democrat, kind of attack that's not even like thought through a little bit. I mean, it was just so lazy and off-putting to me. And then on top of it all, the only example that he gave, at least in that clip, was exactly the Dave Rubin. So it's just like putting these together. I can't take this guy at all seriously.
No, genuinely,
like, you can't even take him seriously,
so
like whatsoever. I mean, he couldn't have always been this ridiculous. And he's not like a very extremely dumb guy also. I mean, I don't know. This was just stupid.
No, he was probably.
Yeah,
the things he used to do in past were probably criminal, in fact.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
but
I think, last point I'm going to say, I think he's like one of the people that I like out of everybody that I know personally and online. I think he's the person that I know has said the most messed up things out of everyone. I can't, nobody comes, true, Trump. Okay, fine. If you go in that way. Yeah, true. If you extend what I said in that way. No, you're absolutely right. But out of other people, let's say in the YouTube world and all this, I think he like trumps people in the level of craziness. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Although, has Trump written articles about the messed up things that he says? At least like there was like video leaks. No, this guy took it upon himself to like write articles when he was in
Trump. You're university. Right, though. Trump has never done some of the disgusting thing this motherfucker has done. And this guy, I mean, look, again, the biggest crime of the world, the hypocrisy is just unbelievable. The man who's shared private pictures of people's private parts, the man who has at some point in his life defended the Armenian genocide, the man who's apparently, I don't know if that's what the Vanguard guy said, had tried to stop TYT to become unionized and all that. And he's the arbiter of who's the real left and who's the fake left. I mean, who made you the fucking king? And then, I mean, just this guy, man, he's not, he believes in American exceptionalism. I remember him hearing that. So, I mean, he's only, I think what this video shows is that and he got what he wanted, though. He got clicks. That was, I think, his main target, to get clicks by mentioning all those people. I think he's jealous because he thinks that he was earlier to the YouTube game, but all these people are doing much better than him because they actually have like a take or have some form of, they are good at their job, let's say. I think he's now very bitter about the fact that he left MSNBC or CNBC, which one? Well, I forget which one was it. Left that because he thought the YouTube partnership program is going to bring him more money, and it didn't. So he's just bitter, and he's just trying to get clicks by starting shitty fights and
I mean, now he's reached a
I
point
don't
where
know.
he doesn't even get clicks because none of them is even going to go clicks to his own channel. It's just going to be maybe clicks on that video
Vanguard,
and then and him being in the conversation a little bit. But yeah, and just the word
What a
fake.
disgusting
Can you be a bit
individual.
more creative? Fake leftist.
They dance for Tucker Carlson like you do for Jeffrey Katzenberg every night, you piece
And
of
as
shit.
Vanguard pointed out, like I don't think Brie has ever been on Tucker Carlson. It makes no sense. You see, I mean, that's just how lazy it was. Dave Rubin, Brie, Jimmy Dore, Glenn Greenwald.
Yeah,
Just all my enemies. Just say all the people I don't like. That's the only thing they have in common. You don't like them.
Yeah, I mean, it's so like it's. How
and
can
he brings a smile to my face, this guy.
Seriously, like now I am rethinking, like, was Dave Rubin right about something? No. Like the most idiotic person I've ever seen on camera is probably Dave Rubin. The most empty person I've like genuinely like empty here, like nothing has ever. But Cenk is worse. Cenk is a genuine disgusting piece of shit. I mean, and I'm so like, I used to be like, oh, it's so cool. His name is actually Persian, you know, his name is Cenk, as in war. His name is literally means war. And I now I wish it was like, I don't want any association with this motherfucker. Like, what a weirdo, what a sick fuck, really.
No, definitely. I mean, I don't know if there's much else to say about about this clip of his, but you know, he just doesn't disappoint. It was just so cringe also listening to it as well.
Oh yeah, I don't know who is he talking to anyway. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I guess Jeffrey Katzenberg. One of the biggest idiots in Hollywood. The guy who was against, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Jeffrey Katzenberg was against the Elton John song in Lion King. I mean, we are talking that level of genius. Like, no, Elton John song doesn't sound to me.
And what did Katie say about it? I didn't hear this. Did she say something about it, Katie Halper?
Oh yeah, Katie as well. Katie was equally like, you know, who gives a shit about this motherfucker and what he thinks. But at the same time, I don't. This whole she was very much focused on Briahna Greyjoy aspect of the thing.
I can see that. Yeah, but I mean,
I'm
once
just
again,
I feel like the whole thing was a bit.
No, for sure, the whole thing was. This was just the, you know. And
again, I have disagreements with Glenn Greenwald about journalism, Jimmy Dore about what do I disagree with him on? Democracy, maybe, like how much people's power would work or something. So, you know, whatever. But definitely not Dave Rubin. Whatever Dave Rubin is, right wing, left, whatever the fuck that is.
Yeah. No. I mean, yeah. Just I think the Briahna one just got everybody because it was just even on top of, you know, the other ones. I think people were ready for it, but this was just like new level of ridiculousness added. That's the only.
Yeah,
thing.
I guess.
That's the only thing I can kind of say. Like, you know, the cherry on top of the cake, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, spoke about Jimmy a bit.
Let's talk about Vanguard versus Jimmy. That was
that was a bit weird. I think they took it a bit too.
Maybe we should. Should we give a bit of a background?
So pretty much on the People's Party website, I'm sure people are familiar with this. It's this party that's made, this third party that's made, and as the Vanguard point out,
it's quite a party.
Yeah, it does have its limitations. It seems it's been embroiled in quite a few issues, and they haven't put
had a candidate.
Never put a candidate. All that is
led by a psychopath.
Yeah,
Jordan, who funds you, Jordan? Jordan, tell me, have you told your audience about who funds you? Led by Nick Brana is a bit of a psychopath.
The 3 times I've heard him speak, he's given me some
I'm not angry. I'm not angry at all.
Yeah, so that's really weird. So then he put out an article. They put out an article, saying that Jimmy Dore might be running for president. He's talked to us. He's like made apparently during some of his live shows, he's hinted at it perhaps. So they're like, we would support him and all this, and how good would be for Jimmy Dore to run and all this. That's what the news article kind of says, right?
Yeah.
And then the Vanguard weren't too happy with it, but they really have two things that they come from. One is, they don't agree with a lot of what Jimmy says. And I think in this video, they came off as a bit bitter. I will explain some of the points that they come off. And of course, with Nick Briahna, they also really don't like him and his People's Party and all of that. So, I mean, there were really two people that they don't like, or two associations were coming together. And I think on the Nick Briahna part, you know, they're much more justified, perhaps, in what, you know, in that
and
aspect.
I definitely think Nick Briahna and People's Party is trying to capitalize on Jimmy Dore's popularity, and which sometimes we try to do with our, you know, videos or whatever. But at the same time, though, I mean, it was basically like a tweet and a shitty article, and the Vanguard guys were losing it, man. No, how could you? You're stealing money from hard work. Like, nobody has ever, like, nothing has happened. And they're like, oh, Jimmy. I mean, I found the thing, not like, maybe it was a bit similar to my thing with Brie. Like, it was very, like, unfair, I feel, like the criticisms they made and the comparisons they made.
Yeah, to Trump, right? Yeah, and all the things like Trump, he's just like Trump. He doesn't listen to anybody else. It's just about him. He doesn't.
Is Jimmy that bad?
Yeah, I mean, I thought exactly. They were taking it too far. And some of the things that they were saying, they're kind of Trump's skills that allowed him to become president. So some of them, I was like, yes, they might be bad, but some of these things are not even like the worst. And I think they went.
He's so confident.
Like, he doesn't want anyone in his entourage who says anything different than him and all that. I mean, I don't even know that, you know, people work for him. They're like his editors and all this, and then of course he brings people that he kind of agrees with. But for instance, Aaron Mate didn't see eye to eye with him when it came to the COVID and pandemic part fully. Of course, they didn't get into debates, but when that was the thing, Aaron, I don't think was quite on Max and his level.
He invited Graham Elwood. I feel like their relationship as a friend deteriorated, but I don't think that was Jimmy's fault. He invited him on his show, and the other one, Graham Elwood, was the one who got angry. But but the whole thing was just like out of some suggestion by someone, probably to get clicks or whatever. I don't know. But they you know, they were like, oh my God, can you believe it? And then what if he runs? Okay, if there is no third party candidate, if there is a gun to my head, if I haven't eaten for a week and they're dangling Snicker bars in front of me, okay, then I'll vote for Jimmy. Okay.
Yeah. I don't understand how that was their starting point, because like for me, it's like you can lay out all the negative things that you want. I would still love to see kind of Jimmy give it a run. I mean, it can't be so bad. Yeah, I don't see how it could be so bad. And then the thing that they were really about, they're like, and they're like, you know,
bad about it.
This People's Party. I mean, fine, I agree with the hypocrisy of the People's Party, but let's forget about that. They're like, and then the People's Party won't even run a primary. I'm like, come on, like, do you like, does the left want to shoot themselves in the foot up? Yeah, sure. If in an ideal world, maybe there should have been primary. But as you mentioned, this People's Party is nothing. So how can they even run a primary? So it's just Jimmy Dore.
Family members.
Yeah. So if this thing were to happen, it's really just Jimmy Dore running as an independent. Now, I don't know, maybe he'll associate with the People's Party for a reason. But a primary, like, what are you talking? And then they're like, he should go run for the Green Party instead. I mean, the Green Party, based on what I've seen in the US, is as big as a failure as something can get.
Yeah,
the Green Party. I mean, putting aside like when they were associated with Ralph Nader, and you know, I don't mind Jill Stein. She seems like she's cool, but the party as a whole is the biggest failure I have ever seen. So I don't see how that is a better suggestion to make. And they pointed out apparently the Green Party didn't want Jesse Ventura before, if I'm not mistaken. So why would they?
No, that's a bit more complex.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, that whole
part
of the primary
that was the thing.
Thing.
Greens had primaries, and Jesse Ventura didn't want to do didn't want to go through the process. He wanted to, and there was somebody within the Green Party that was actually going through the process. So yeah, I mean, look, the whole
sorry, one last point though. So you can call that undemocratic if you want, sure. But I will not, I think you'd have to argue with me if you're going to say that's not good for society or for your causes, because, you know, just because something is done in a democratic way doesn't mean that that's the best way you're going to advance your policies and all that. And, you know,
democracy is the most overrated, the most Rorschach. You know what's a Rorschach test?
Don't
They
think so.
they show you pictures of black ink on white paper, and psychologists, they tell you what comes to your mind, what you
Okay.
see, you know. And you see, for example, I see a rabbit, you're healthy. I see a mother killing her baby with her own hand. Okay, you're psycho. Go to a room. So you know, democracy is a Rorschach, you know, thing. So it means whatever it, you know, it's just. But I definitely agree. Democratic means don't necessarily. But I don't. My point is just the whole thing is being over. What do you mean? Like these 5 people primaries is for a situation where you can't get into a room and have a committee meet. Okay, do we agree? Yes, we agree. Okay. Green Party is a different thing, and I think they're taking the whole thing way too serious. Like, first of all, it was a tweet. Second of all, I don't think if you want to run, you have to, as a serious candidate, why don't you go to the Green Party? Like, I don't want to. It's easier to do my own thing. So I'm more of a, I don't know.
Agree with you there.
And they were like, they're so, I don't know what Jimmy Dore, can't somebody tell me? I'm not even a big fan of Jimmy Dore's like takes on how most people are good and working class people are all good and, you know, that type of thing. But can somebody tell me what are such a right-wing position he's taken? What are these extreme things he said? I've never seen him say something extreme about trans people. I've never seen him say something extreme about like foreign policy that much, unless saying some Ukrainians are Nazis. Is that, I don't know, like maybe COVID stuff, is that like even COVID stuff wasn't right wing. From check out our interview with Mr. Parenti. But I don't, I just don't get what are the.
I mean, you know, the Vanguard, they had a very, you know, bitter experience with not even Jimmy Dore, but, you know, because Jimmy Dore came on their show. I remember from a year ago, but, you know, Jimmy Dore came on their show when they were going up and up. And that interview went well. Then they invited Ryan Grimm like a week or 2 ago. And then, I mean, the poor guys lost. I honestly think that interview cost them a couple thousand subscribers, and they had like 20 something. So, I mean, I can feel like if we suddenly put a video up and we lose like 200 subscribers, I would feel
I remember what happened.
So I think, you know, that has left a very bad, bitter taste in their mouth. And they come off as bitter here, really, as a result of that, perhaps.
But I remember what happened as well. When they were doing the Ryan interview, I think Jimmy Dore started sending them that chats that they can read on the channel. And he was telling them, ask questions or something. And I remember one of the guy with the beard, I forget, Gavin or Zach, he was so angry, telling us how to do our show or something, like we will not shout out to anyone. I would like to again reiterate, in this show, we will shout out to anyone that pay us above like $5 million. Really, we do it. I do it anyway. I don't know what can we are, but $5 million. I'm reduced my price. This is a summer sales.
But you know, you keep on saying it's nothing, and you know, it's just a tweet. But there was a tweet and an article, and in the article I saw, I don't know if this is true, but apparently Ralph Nader has said he would support a Jimmy Dore campaign. So,
you're right. Chris Hedges too, apparently.
Oh yeah, so I mean, you can't have more credible people than Ralph Nader. You ask Chris Hedges, like, what did you have for breakfast today?
Hedges,
well, when I was on the campaign with Ralph, every breakfast we had blueberries. Like any question, he connects it to Ralph Nader. But hey, I'm also a big fan of Ralph Nader.
I remember in 1983 when Ralph Nader was writing that piece about consumer. Oh my God, Chris! And then we went to the prison to meet with my students. Oh Jesus! I need to listen to that Ralph Nader radio show. I haven't listened to it yet, but apparently it's big on Spotify or something.
Oh, I can see that being the case since it's just an audio one. But yeah, here, I mean, the Vanguard boys came off a bit as bitter, and they didn't even consider the thing. Like, imagine if Jimmy Dore runs, and you know, they got stuck. They got stuck on the first sentence at one point because it says like the biggest comedian, and they're like, no. As a fact, this is not the biggest comedian. Was so I was like, sure.
Actually speaking, Roseanne Barr in 1985, she ran. Howard Stern ran for New York one time.
And like, you know, And of course, the conversation is about like not winning. I think like literally like the US government wouldn't let anybody else like win but a Democrat Republican. But it's about perhaps changing the conversation a bit, perhaps making the Democrats think that, oh, we have to change our policies a bit because, you know, this person came in. But then we saw Bernie came and he said all those things and they fought Bernie not by out-lefting him, just by like canceling him. So even that might not perhaps work. But you know, those are things that come up, you know, okay, taking some votes away from Democrats, forcing them to adopt some of our policies, injecting some talking points into the conversation, which, you know, given how shitty situation is, I mean, if we're gonna have Biden running again, I just hope there's someone like Jimmy Dore or something surprising that at least, you know.
I hope that, just because it would be more fun to cover the campaign.
That for sure.
But I don't think, okay, I don't know. But James Adomian, who does a great, he's famous for his Bernie Sanders impressions. He had one great joke in which it was so good. He said that he was Bernie Sanders and he would say, in the case that if I get elected and there is no immediate coup d'etat because my policies are so opposed. But this was in 2016 when his policies were still. It was so, and it's so true. I genuinely think if there is a Bernie Sanders sort of thing, they just take his children to a room and say, we're gonna dissolve them in acid. What do you think about foreign policy now? You know, like
they don't even need to do that with his kids. They'll be like, this one guy that you met once will kill him if you don't change your policies. He'll be like, fine.
We've got this bird here. Dove. I'm gonna crush this dove. Come on. Invade Ukraine. Go on, do it.
You see this goldfish? I'll eat this goldfish right now. Bernie, take back your Medicare. I'm eating this goldfish right now.
Medicare, huh? What about Okay, all right, calm down.
Man, poor Bernie. What a guy still. What a guy.
Yeah, it's still the best of the worst lot in the world, probably. But yeah, so that was just funny though. The guys are not happy with Jimmy.
The primary part though is the more serious part that killed me. It's like that's the more serious, that's like the main point made. I'm like, no, man. It's just like, you know, just trying to shoehorn some kind of democracy thing in there doesn't work. I mean, this example has nothing to do with that, but that's what they did in Egypt. Oh, yeah, revolution. Yeah, great. Okay, tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. election. Right now, election. Tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Yeah, you want new president? Okay, perfect. You have 10 minutes to vote in 2 days, and that's it. Just my point is that just because something is democratic, it's not necessarily the best solution for the outcomes of advancing your policies.
It's usually the worst solution in my view.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far. Perhaps I'm just saying in some cases I know for sure it's just a sham.
Especially mass democracy. I really suggest everybody read. I don't know if it's a book, but it's really a long article by E.H. Carr on nationalism. On nationalism or nationalism, I forget, by E.H. Carr, R at the end. But I think mass democracy, he discusses that especially with references to case of America. I think mass democracy referendums is the worst thing possible. So I'm just, not that I mean, I do think the case with the primary is a bit different though.
But not in this case. I mean, they don't even have a party going on. I mean,
that's
what are they going to primary?
Yeah, that's why it's overblown. I'm not saying, but if you are a Democratic party, like Democrats or Republicans, then
no. Listen, if this People's Party actually becomes a party, and in 3 election times they're still not running primaries, I don't think so. I'll come defend my analogy in a second too. But I'm saying, like, let's say if in 3 election times, right, the People's Party are still not doing primaries or something, I think it would be more of a valid argument, right? But right now they're clearly saying, shit, we don't have anything to do. We have no solution, but Jimmy Dore for some reason is okay with partnering up with us. So we're just going to attach ourselves to him. They can't primary the person who's like giving them, a
Yeah, I
lifeline.
agree with that. No,
Yeah.
but that's not like, why did you bring up the Egypt thing?
The
That
Egypt thing
really
is just
threw
an
me off.
example of like you think that you're doing something democratic, right? And doing that democratic thing will lead to better outcomes and better solutions. Whereas no, that democratic thing is just counterproductive, really, in that case. Like, I think if
I agree
Egypt
with
didn't have an election immediately and rather said, okay, we have temporary government in place and we'll have an election in a year or two, I think better outcomes could have come out. Maybe still not perfect, but I think better outcomes if there was a chance to, like, mobilize and get together
I
and put
lar
parties and candidates.
I don't know, but I think I largely agree with your sentiment, but I think it's very bad. And and you criticized me for my gun analogy. This is far
No,
worse.
okay.
Gun and cars, at least there's some, this is like, that's a referendum at the national level. We are talking now about a within party voluntary organization. So I don't know. I really think, I know what you're
the
saying.
point of
that,
comparison was the
point is
democracy part.
Okay, my point of the comparison between guns and cars was killing people, the ability of a device to kill.
And
it was far better analogy. I'm just sorry.
I don't think so. We'll see. Maybe it does. If people also think that it sucks, perhaps it does. But I wouldn't mix it with your.
My gun, I admitted my gun and car analogy was bad.
But this is also much smaller. I didn't even go that overboard to require, even if people don't like it, for me to come back. So I'm not going to come back. And, if people think this is a shitty analogy, I'll just take the L. I'm not
letting it go.
Fine, as you wish. Speaking of not letting it go, I think this is a short story you can just do quickly right now, which is Chelsea Manning and Glenn.
Yes.
So there are Chelsea 2 parts. Manning, maybe say the video and then there's an article.
Chelsea Manning is genuinely, I think I've read up about her because we did a couple of things and I wasn't a big fan, but she has even been defended by some of the people she attacks. But in my view, she's nothing more than an attention seeker. She seems to have joined the military because she was an idiot who just would, she was an attention seeker. Then her father was upset with her. And then he at the time joined the military to make the father proud or something. And then at workplace in the military, she had loads of problems. And then just to seek attention, she leaked some stuff. I don't believe she had any genuine political beliefs in anything, or she does now, or she ever had. She seems too stupid to really have any. I mean, check out some of her interview with 3H3 for some references to my personal. Bobby said I should bring my personal attacks, back them up with references. Take at her takes on Glenn Greenwald and others. Look at her takes on Intercept, and there's a journalist that works there. Take a look at her takes on international politics. Take a look at her takes on Obama. She's an attention seeker who goes with the flow. That's all she is.
I mean, let's put her past the side for a second. Although I don't completely disagree with you, and there's some of the stuff I haven't heard or looked at. But currently talking about her the last 1 or 2 or 3 years or whatever, extremely disappointing takes. Says these attacks about Glenn and others. We listened to that whole podcast that she did with Intercept on this. Never elaborates where this comes from. And you're right, her takes on Obama and other things are quite questionable. So I do understand her thing. And again, she said about Glenn. So here there's a quote. Manning told the Daily Beast, "I can't tell you how hard that was to disavow Greenwald, how deeply hard that was. It took me years to navigate me saying something about him." So, I mean, sure. I mean, that could be your experience, but I mean, you should put that aside and then also explain a little bit, but be like, hey, this was the reason and why I thought he was going to come and do this. Doesn't make sense. And then Greenwald, I love this. In an email statement to New York Post, Greenwald praised Manning as a brave and noble whistleblower for what she did in 2010. At the same time, she has proven to be the type of person, sadly more common now than ever, whose religion is politics, whose only sense of purpose comes from ideological crusades. As a result, she's therefore willing to publicly denounce her own friends in the most deliberately vicious and hurtful ways. I agree. The minute her friends start seeing the world differently than she does and pursuing different political projects. Glenn Greenwald went on to describe Manning as a person who lost their soul, as evidenced by being willing to publicly denounce their own friends for applause and attention all over political disagreements. So yeah, I mean, when she came out against the Glenn thing, I never got any kind of explanation what it is that Glenn did that made her feel so unsafe and so
defending, going on Tucker Carlson.
So I don't know,
when you go on Tucker Carlson, Glenn goes on Tucker Carlson, Chelsea Manning gets gets the shakes and stuff. It physically harms her, you see, and it's very difficult for her. Her eyes starts bleeding. Her eyes starts bleeding. Her ears starts, ringing and all that. You don't know these things. No, she's an attention seeker that has nothing to capitalize on but her feud with Glenn Greenwald now. I mean, pathetic little shit, frankly.
Yeah.
And I don't. Again, that's. People always say, "Oh, we still respect her for the leaks she did." I mean, I don't respect people for what they do. Just for what they do. I think you have to count in situation and motivation. For example, as Stalin, you could say helps. I'm using another shitty analogy to your shitty analogy, but you could say many world leaders have done a lot of shit that has been good, but just the motivation behind it. And for example, Nixon introduced environmental protections into America. Did he do it because Nixon was a good man who wanted to protect the nature, or was he scared? And she's the attention seeker. That's all this is about. And besides the fact that her leaks, by the way, didn't help to change any policy or anything. So
yeah, I mean, you could say perhaps it brought more attention to the Iraq war and led to faster coming to an end of that war.
No, it didn't. How are you making that?
I don't know. I'm just saying perhaps someone could make that argument, but I don't know how I would make it, so I'm not making it.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody has ever been able to tell me how any of those great works of journalism led to any policy change, like established causation.
Yeah, I mean, that's not the only thing. That's not possible, really. That's not how things happen, and that's not the only worth of journalistic work, because if not, people will be failing.
How come it's very possible when you look at the economical factors? Suddenly it's become very possible to show causation or likely causation.
Yeah, well, maybe with some things it's easier, and even that, but yeah. But I'm saying this would be something very hard.
Again, but it was, you see, but that's, again, attention seeking. This is another attempt at that. But yeah, not a big fan at all. I hope it wasn't a personal attack. It was somewhat substantive. But again, check out her views on international politics, Obama, Glenn Greenwald, security, surveillance state. All of it is quite backwards. Not backwards, simple. Like a slightly to the left of a centrist Democrat.
All right, Sam, let's move on to our next story. And I just received a text here. The Rising, they've ran out of people in all of the Washington area. They're trying to, if they can't find anybody else in the US, they might call you in to be a presenter.
Me? I can be a guest. I feel like you should be a presenter. I can be one of those guests that they're all like, yeah, but no.
But this show needs to have like one producer who's just worried about getting a new host on every time, because someone's like, yeah, I might have a cold. I don't think I'll come in tomorrow. No problem. We're just going to hire 3 new people to make sure that someone replaces you. Like, easy. You can have 1 or 2 people on the panel.
Don't think you're not expendable, Robby. Don't think you're not expendable. You can replace anybody in a bat of an eye.
Like Robby's like, oh, nice, the weekend's coming up. Oh, yeah, Robby? Oh, yeah, you think you're the only libertarian out here? You're the only libertarian? We'll find another one.
You could go into the street. Hey, any libertarian out there? Hey.
Ryan Grimm takes like a day off. They're like, okay, yeah. How about we bring Brie, a young version of you?
But it's the opposite, man. Our leftist mindset is allowing us to criticize the Hill. Why the Hill is the one being abused here? I swear to God, I think Brie and Robby and all these people, they found a way to find all their friends sort of internships at a really major sort of a news thing. Brie is bringing every other guest she had as guest hosts now. Instead of Brie, there is like all her guests on Bad Cat Fade are now guest hosts on The Hill. Robby, every time Robby is not there, some other idiot from Reason magazine or some.
Robby's not one of those idiots, though. I want to say
Robby
that he's
is
the
not.
only
Robby is
libertarian
genuinely-
I have seen so
We
far that
like,
I can
yeah.
respect his takes.
Ron
Because
Paul. I like
perhaps
Ron
he's
Paul.
not true, Ron Paul. Because perhaps he's not even that libertarian as he thinks he is. But
I think so too. Yeah, especially check out his interview with the Chapo Trap House guys. I think he's very much more. He's more, I think, localitarian or that type of thing. Like a very local government rather than a big federal government. But anyways, but I mean, so like and and very briefly. Before going into the I mean, not that there is not much substance in this segment.
I mean, there's just one thing about healthcare we can touch on with the new host. I mean, that's not substance either.
Let's talk first about my thing. It's more, bullshit. Is there, by the way, producers and is there costume department at the Hill? I don't know if they noticed, but I think the ladies on the Hill, and to be honest, people on the left in general. What's going on with the dress sense and the dress code? Like, what is going on? Seriously, Ryan Grimm is always wearing a tie that is so fat that makes him look even fatter. Then you have Brie showing up with some sort of what was that? Was that a curtain from the Mexican restaurant? The red, was that a tablecloth? She was wearing the red thing. Crystal Ball, I think, is advising these people on how to dress, and Kyle Kalinske. Like, what is going on? Is there no?
Yeah, you don't want to get fashion takes from Kyle Kalinske. Okay, Crystal too, and but I think Kyle is the first.
But Kyle, I think, is coaching Ryan and. What's going on with Bree's? Yeah, Bree's dresses are just becoming more, and she's going to the same shop as Crystal. By the way, Crystal's clothes, did you see that blue, whatever the blue? It looked like she was wearing basically like I don't know, like what do you sheet covers for the bed? Like
I think perhaps. But Kyle reminds me of, what though? In Seinfeld, like they make that Jerry makes that joke that dads. Like they reach a point in their like fashion style and they're like one day they're like, okay, I'm gonna look like this for the rest of my life, right? Which I love that. I agree with that. Makes life really easy. I have made that choice too. And perhaps, I'm sure a lot of people can say how shitty that choice is.
Yes.
But I think Kyle he landed on the wrong one. I would have kept on trying a bit more. Maybe one or two different styles and hairstyles. And then stick to one forever. I mean, someone can also say that for me. Fair enough, of course. I just feel like Kyle stopped too early. He should have kept on going little bit more and then stuck to his hairstyle and look forever. But my opinion is he stopped too early, changing and evolving.
Yeah, his hairstyle is, I admit, I can't defend it.
Like no barber can make that hairstyle again. They're like, let's watch some videos from '98, see how they cut their hair like this. Okay. Yeah, okay.
Here are some Tintin cartoons.
Kyle brings his own comic book to show you. See this Tintin cartoon from '73. Yeah, make me look like. I don't know who I am to make fun of him. Honestly, you should see me.
No, but yeah. I mean, we don't dress very well. But two things I would say about defending. First of all, his ties, man. I've noticed he wears nice ties.
Okay.
Like unlike Ryan Grimm and Sagar, who wear they wear these grandpa ties from 80s. Like that's what I realized. That's one of the reasons I can't connect to Sopranos or Goodfellas. Like I can't connect with that style of clothing. Like these big ties, like they're like cravats or something. And I would defend Kyle and consistency because consistency is something. Crystal and now Brie, they show up and you're shocked, like you're like, oh my god, my eyes, like I can't, they show sometimes it looks like they came back from a shop from Cinderella or something.
Yeah,
it's so weird. At least you have the suit look and you have the sports 90s sort of trainer. Whatever that is, look. So you know what to expect after a while. I'm just saying. But I
Yeah.
feel like but the girl with the red t-shirt, I don't know.
Yeah.
That was, yeah.
Oh, I wasn't
I'm
going
not
to
a
talk
big
about her clothes. I was going to talk about her takes when it
Oh, we're
came
gonna
to
talk
her.
about their takes.
Yeah.
No, but before going to substance, what about the clothes? Like, there was no other person. Ryan, Robbie's all the Robbie's. I like his ties.
Yeah,
Skinny ties.
Robbie's more like
He
in
does the
fashion.
thin thing too, though, doesn't he?
No, I don't think
It's a
so.
bit thin. It's
I mean,
side thin.
no, no, I don't agree with that. Side
When
tintin is not tintin. Tintin is specific.
When he
It's
was
very
at
different.
home, I know. But when he was at home, though, he did, and I don't know if it was the lighting or that's the studio they do his hair. His hair looked like he literally looked like a peacock. Like it was like.
No, but they
like,
do nice makeup, I
yeah.
think, on Robby. I mean, they definitely put makeup on him. I could use some too, I think.
Had you guess?
I'm 100% sure they put. You don't think they put makeup on Robby? You can really tell. I don't know why.
Or with women, to be honest, I can't. How do you can you tell?
I don't know. Just because the shininess, I feel like they put makeup on Robby, but I don't know.
Oh,
maybe I'm mistaken. Others
but
can tell me if
they put the makeup so you don't shine.
But the way, the way it glows or whatever, it looks like to me they put a little bit
of. Whenever he talks, he glows.
They put a little bit of like, I've seen it's the makeup that they put on men. I think when they go and do interviews and stuff in movies, you see they put like. They do like a little bit of makeup on them, and then
powder.
They set them out.
I thought it's touch the glowing.
Perhaps it is, but I'm saying they put the powder and stuff on him for sure. I think.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind if somebody could advise the Kale on, like maybe tie the tie. I need to fix the ties of Ryan.
This is a bit unrelated, but actually, slightly just because you mentioned breaking points, I'm just going to quickly mention it. I didn't think that this many people working for them, but they pretty much posted this article on their YouTube where somebody like this person went and like looked at their studio and stuff. And I just read the first paragraph or two, but he was like, yeah, first I was greeted by a producer, and then I went to their studio room and they had four people working on the studio. In the studio, I was like, damn, I didn't know they had that much of a thing going on. Yeah.
Doing what?
All the things, I guess, all the studio stuff. Man, you need like one sound person, like one YouTube person, one editing person. It already becomes people putting putting the graphics. Like if you think about it, like
unnecessary bureaucracy.
But I mean, they have a studio. Audio person needs to usually be like their own person. It's like such a technical thing that can go wrong like so easily. I don't know why.
How did our audio? Like we've done what now?
Yeah, and we're doing it
and it went wrong once.
And we're doing it in the easiest, best way because with the computer and stuff in studios and things, they can always. But like if you go to like any kind of event and if they don't do a prep before, like the microphone will be off, this will be off. So I don't know why it's so technical. They have someone who puts the graphics, so that's already two people. You need somebody else to edit and chop and upload. That's already a third person. So I should have.
I'm just saying.
I don't know why I was surprised, but
great.
Yeah. We upload our shows 2 days after recording. So guys, this is being recorded on Friday the 17th. By the end of the month, the video should be up.
Guys, we're gonna comment on the start of the Ukraine war. We know by the time this comes out, the war has finished.
Yeah.
We are sorry about that. A bit out of it.
So I think that's why you need a few more people.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, you're right.
Guys, I've really been meaning to cover this story from 2 weeks ago. Finally getting to.
Guys, I don't know if you know this, but America has invaded Iraq. Biggest story.
So yeah, that's maybe they need a few people in the studio. But that was a little small thing. But yeah, going back to this new lady, the new libertarian lady. I loved the Medicare part. And like Bree just asked her the simplest question because they get into part of Medicare and she's like, yeah, she doesn't want Medicare and all that. And then she was like, well, recently I went to this hospital or clinic. I don't know where. She named somewhere. She was like, they had a menu. Yeah. So it's like an a la carte option. So you look and you see, okay, which one fits your needs and your price. And let alone that, like, it's not really optional. You have to take one. But Brie even asked a simpler question. She was like, but what if I can't pay for any of them? It's like, but you choose. But she's like, but I'm poor. I can't even pay for the cheaper one. And I don't think she even acknowledged that question.
If we got rid of employer-based healthcare, how would you imagine people?
Glad you asked. Absolutely. I mean, a total marketplace for people to be able to shop for insurance plans that fit their needs. And as well as, I think this could be something that really forces some transparency. You actually have there's a surgery center in Oklahoma. This is like the most dorky libertarian thing ever. There's a surgery center in Oklahoma where they have a la carte price list, and you get to know exactly how much your surgeries are going to cost, and you get to budget and plan accordingly. And if
I'm poor, if I don't have any money.
Well, the good thing about this is that the prices are actually so much cheaper than you would actually find at a standard hospital, because you go to a hospital and you ask, how much is this procedure going to run me? Could I at least have an itemized bill? And they say no in a lot of cases.
But what if I don't have any money?
Well, I mean, yes, that's why you buy your insurance on the private marketplace, and that allows you to be able to shop and to decide what type of
The concern is that people can't afford insurance.
Yes, but I mean, they can't afford it right now.
And then they just
Yeah.
moved on.
I don't. No, first of all, she's the most. Again, I still we've discussed this before, but I think we are facing a pandemic of like psychopaths, like with Nick Briahna and all. Like, yes, I believe in civil liberties, but I also believe that we should respect each other. And as a pregnant, by the way, every time they're talking about any issues, as a pregnant woman in New York, I feel very unsafe sometimes. I need my own RPG to shoot people.
Yeah.
Do you understand? It's just
get what
stop.
the pregnancy
Please blink.
comes in with the
Please
gun.
blink. like just blink once. And no, the hospital thing is so funny. The problem is I go to the hospital, and before I do surgery, they don't tell you what are the prices. For example, if my leg is broken and they tell me that, if you wanna, we can put a Band-Aid, $2. We can also put a casket, $100,000. Your choice, Band-Aid or casket. I would like to know these choices. Do I get a Band-Aid? It was unbelievable.
We have to be like, yeah, you're right. You don't know the price and all that. It's really hard to calculate. That's why you should go there, get your treatment for free, and then you go home.
So she thinks it's a menu. This week I'm on a bit of a diet, so I only broke one of my fingers this week, not leg. I'll have the Band-Aid this week, not the cat. She doesn't understand how medical.
But you cannot. This is not something you need to understand. I don't know, man. Like, I've always been dumb, and like I still am. I feel like I got a bit smarter at some point in my early 20s. But even when I was 5, I think I would have found this Medicare healthcare arguments a bit problematic, because I'll be like, yeah, really, price, is that the thing that we're really talking about here? Like, you should get the treatment. I mean, yeah. I don't know. The Medicare one is a pretty self-evident one.
I must admit, on education, I was always, self-evident, but Medicare for all, it took me some, like, I remember I was at university and we had an argument, and somebody pushed me until to the point that I took my natural, to take the argument to its natural conclusion, which is basically, if you don't have money, you should die from injury.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, fuck, what did I just argue? And I was like, yeah, I need to rethink my position. And then I was like, okay, that's just not tenable. Right. Even if it does cost more, which it doesn't. In fact, most of the studies show that long term it might save some money as well. Maybe it doesn't. I don't care. That's just not fair. Like, I hate a lot of people. I hate most people. I hope they suffer in some ways, but not physically. And it's not fair to get your whole life derailed. And but for me, I had to go to university and like argue it out loud and hear myself and go, what the fuck is wrong with me? So.
Well, I guess this technique doesn't work on that lady, because
Briahna
asked her twice. She's like, what if I'm poor? She's like, well, you pick. No. I don't know how else to put this. What if I can't pay for the cheapest option even? Let's say I can't even get the Band-Aid.
Well, you can go to the back
drinks
of the
menu,
hospital,
the sides.
back of the hospital, and there is some like leftover antibiotics. You can have them eat out of the garbage from. I don't know what.
And then quickly bring on her gun control. So they're talking about something
No, but
totally
she
different.
did argue something interesting.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Did you hear her argument is not she's against employer-based insurance.
That too, yeah.
She's based on individual-based insurance, which is basically like allowing, like that would be even worse.
Yeah.
Because can you imagine how many people out of necessity, forget about how many people out of a stupidity, let's put a stupid people aside, how many people out of necessity would not have like insurance, health insurance, and what, like basically she's, these people are pretty much advocating for a state of nature of war against war. Like that's
what you think, man. But like really libertarians, I really can never take them, putting Robby aside, I just oftentimes cannot take them seriously at all, because they have no I don't even understand why they take part in discussions, because their solution is just to let things happen. So I don't even know why they come and talk, because like there's no point in saying things. It's just
they hate it when other people don't let it be.
Yeah,
that's what they hate.
And I guess their biggest contribution is just muddy conversations even more, make them even like more
I have a
confusing.
soft spot for libertarians, I must say, because I do view government I understand government. The difference between a corporation and government to me is the fact that government is technically responsible for the people or for the country. Corporation is responsible to its shareholder and financial interest. But I can see how easily when you have a powerful government, it can, pop all for services that should be free for all. So I have a soft spot.
Of course, it has a lot of issues
because they see, a lot of people on the left, man, don't see the inherent problem with, for example, a lot of people like me propose nationalization of internet platforms like Twitter or something. But I admit, even as somebody who proposes that, understands the threat that could, in terms of censorship and all that. So, I think libertarians get that. A lot of people on the left have this romantic view of the state.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure. I agree with that. There is definitely, none of the positions are far from perfect.
But yeah, they're crazy. I don't want to underplay that.
I actually respect inconsistent libertarians more than consistent ones. Because at least inconsistent libertarians are like everybody else, whereas consistent ones are just straight up lunatics. I mean, there's just nothing to even say. But if you're a consistent libertarian, there's nothing even to listen to. I mean, like, I'm sorry. Like, there's just
I care about consistency in ideology or in your own morality and that type of thing. I don't really care about people who are consistent policy-wise, because it's like policy, you have to go case by case. I don't think anybody's consistent.
Fair enough.
But I have in my personal life, I hope I have consistency, but it's not really a
and consistency in which way, really? Yeah. So I guess if you're a libertarian where you're consistent on some issues in libertarian way and then not on some other issues,
everybody thinks
that would be good. But if you're just full out consistent libertarian, I mean, that means I can just come to your house and do whatever I want.
Yeah,
unless you can stop me.
No, that's the thing about libertarians are innately not consistent, because they believe in that sort of situation, but they seem to all of them believe in private property.
Yeah.
And private property is a whole contradiction against libertarians.
100%.
So
because that's the state saying that this is yours, right? That's where this
not just or state or whoever
right
saying it's someone's.
Yeah.
You don't have the liberty to take their shit. So
well,
I'm putting it in a very extremist, simplistic way.
I don't know, man. Every time I've listened, this is the kind of stuff and that goes. So I mean, I don't know what to say.
I mean, look, there is more sophisticated libertarian. I would.
Yeah, like Rob. Perhaps. 120 armed men were arrested today following tips from locals. Isn't that something, Sam?
Well, Kam, I think that's something, but I think the real issue we should really talk about is the government surveillance. Isn't government surveillance gone too far when men can't organize in a militia and just, go about and do their thing? Don't you think, as a leftist populist or something, whatever the fuck you are, don't you think What do you think?
I'm sorry, but what are you talking about? There were 120 men organized and with weapons who were arrested.
I know, but isn't the real issue the government surveillance and how much government is trying to, as a pregnant lady, I fear for myself. I fear for the government coming after me after, after everything, it's very sad. I think the government surveillance, but I understand those 120 men, that's dangerous too, but the government surveillance really.
Oh, come on. I think, no, we can talk about surveillance as well. Yes, but that's a separate issue. Here, the main part of the story is that there were 120 men showed up with weapons. What is going on? What are you doing? What's going on here?
Oh, thank God. Sorry, guys. Really apologize. With me, with my baby, I really didn't feel safe, and they just took me a while to get this gun from the New York. We're gonna come back with you with a new co-host. There's a lot of them lying around, and yeah, it's gonna be great. Thank you for watching The Hill.
In terms of nobody coming to take your guns, I mean, I guess nobody's coming to take my guns, though it is incredibly hard for me, a pregnant mom-to-be, to get my gun license. NYPD is not giving me a very easy time in terms of allowing me to use my Second Amendment rights to keep a gun in my home. So I'm hopeful that New York will get a little bit more sane on that, because I think I'm highly qualified to protect my family.
But yeah, one or two more things here. Khanna went on Brie, and Brie, hey, here compared to Glenn, like such a better interview. Khanna came on and he asked these things. I'm just compared to how Glenn, how Cenk interviewed Nomiki. Just compare how Cenk interviewed Nomiki like it was the biggest softball bullshit, and at least Brie put some questions.
He's a real politician.
To Khanna. But yeah, and then pretty much Khanna, I mean, just shows like how life kind of works. What he said that, yeah, he supported Nomiki simply because he knows her. So like he was like, yeah, I'll just support her, give her my endorsement. And he said, I'm not going to be much more vocal about this because the other person might be good as well. I don't know anything about her. But yeah, I just endorse Nomiki because she's nice and she was my friend. And
probably one of the more convincing arguments I got in defending Nomiki. And I would say that's why I have a bit of a soft spot for Khanna. Like when he talks, I genuinely feel like sometimes he's just like, I like that attitude of the, I didn't know like too much about the other candidate. They seem to be both progressives and all that. And again, I don't agree with it. I think Nomiki is probably the worst, I genuinely don't think Nomiki should have any power whatsoever over anyone, let alone having like a state power. No, but at the same time, Khanna doesn't come across as AOC does in her.
No, of course. Yeah,
I think in reality, we're thinking about the vulnerable people. Like that's why Khanna, at least I don't want to, suffocate him.
Yeah, no. Fair enough. But I mean, to me, just like the overall lesson that I took is just so funny, man. You think that like politicians or people make serious decisions on serious things, but literally endorsed somebody else for public office based on the fact that they're just friends. That's a lot of things. That's a lot of way how things happen. I feel like Nomiki
has put these people. I feel with both Sam Cedar and this guy. I hate both of them. Khanna with the war thing proved his true colors, and Sam Cedar is just the disgusting little piece of shit. But I do feel like Nomiki probably put these people in a bad position by counting on their lack of knowledge about the elections, asking them to endorse her first, and then
I don't know. That's
they
their
know
fault.
that there is somebody else.
I would come to Nomiki's defense here. That's their. I mean, it's not. She didn't.
But it's a shitty thing to do to your friends, to put them in that position that you have to endorse me type.
I mean, what Sam Cedar did to Emma Vigeland and the producer, that
was super shitty.
If it really went on in that way, yeah. But I mean, Khanna, he just found out, and I don't know. I don't know about that though. That's their fault. That's their problem. If you come and just tell me something, and then, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, that's all I have to say there. Yeah.
No, but yeah, before we move on to our next story, I didn't put this on the lineup, but you saw the AOC interview, did you? The one about Joe Biden. She
no, you told me about
Biden. Oh, right. Oh my God. The Democrats were going crazy. Oh my God. AOC is taking the hardest stance at Joe Biden. The lady is like, so you're not, are you going to endorse Joe Biden in the upcoming presidential election? She's like, first of all, I'm focused on winning the majority on this, upcoming election in 2022, which is good luck, lady. I'm sure you're going to win a majority there. Good luck. Then she's like, I believe we should do endorsements as they come. Like, this is too soon. And then the lady is like, this is not a yes. And she suddenly, man, she clearly gets so scared. It's as if Nancy Pelosi is just there with a gun, like, say it. And she, no, it's not a no. Yeah, no, I'm just saying that, we should do endorsement as they come. And Jesus Christ, what compare this to Khanna, man. And Khanna actually is going on Briahna Greyjoy, not on some shitty
no, you have to give that to Khanna. I mean, in this interview, he I liked him a bit more, but his other policy things and stuff when it came to Russia, Ukraine especially, he didn't make much sense.
Sorry to cut you. Yeah, his policies don't make sense. But it's just AOC is just so unnervingly annoying. Like, she's getting Numuki Kunst level annoying. Like, stop just being so they're like a stereotype of a shitty character. It's I genuinely mean, it's so funny. We're gonna talk about this in The Boys. There's a character clearly based on AOC. And the actress, she's like, when she's much more convincing than AOC, much more convincing. It's ridiculous. Fiction is more real than reality.
Yeah,
it's I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, brilliant. Okay, yeah, I don't have anything else to say. I see here that you also maybe had something you want to say about Lauren Boebert.
Oh, yes.
Speaking of AOC,
there has been did you not read the article I sent you?
On Lauren Boebert?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, go check it out. I'm gonna.
Sorry, I wasn't good this week. My bad.
Guys, I'm gonna try to be as. There is suggestions by the same group that exposed Madison Cawthorn as a cousin fucker, I guess, or cousin abuser. I don't know whatever that was. There is allegations by the same group that Lauren Boebert may have been a prostitute.
What? No.
Yeah, I swear to God, man. May have been an escort. Sorry, high-end escort, not a prostitute, and may have also had 2 abortions. I'm a bit. She's denied the allegations.
She has 4 kids. Right?
Yeah, she's denied the allegations, but then again, she denied the allegations about her restaurant. But then those turn out to be true. And this, I'm just at this point, I'm not sure if this story is true that she was working as a escort through sugardaddy.com, but I to the gods above, Odin, Zeus, whoever is out there, Tom Cruise, whoever, I pray to you, please make this to be true. I mean, if this is true, we have to. I'm sorry, but we have to cancel our show if this is true, because satire is officially dead. You can't do satire if this is what is happening in real life. How do we top that? I hope it's true. Please. I don't know what you. I'm willing to sacrifice a small animal just to make this come true.
I honestly don't know what's crazier: her having previously been an escort, or her family taking a picture with 4 kids holding those guns and machine guns. I don't know which one is a crazier, more surprising thing for a politician.
Let me talk.
Actually, I think the other one is actually fine. If she was an escort, nothing wrong with that. Actually, that's just a bit surprising. Yeah, I know. It's just a bit surprising and funny, and giving her who she is and Republican and all this. But the gun thing, man. I mean,
let me top it up. Apparently, her husband has according to the article I sent you, her husband has exposed himself to minors in a bowling alley in front of her.
What?
And this is before they got married, apparently. So yeah, I mean, this is a lady who requests her waitresses in the restaurants to wear guns with live bullets
That's
in. Like,
insane.
yeah, please God, please let it be true. I don't know what I must do. I'll join Islam or Christianity, whatever is the true religion, I'll join it. Just tell me. I'll just please make this happen. Uh, it's too good. It's too good to be
Jesus.
true. No, it's not
Yeah.
gonna be true. It's not gonna be true. You never know.
Yeah, she could have easily, especially an escort, like maybe she was like for like a year or like 6 months, a brief period.
She does look no offense, but she does. Have you seen her? She's a bit. She looks very sort of a typical fake California type look, but she's not from very south. You know what I mean? She did, but I don't know. Not that anybody who is an escort has that look or anything like.
No, I mean, I wouldn't. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if it came out and there was some truth to that.
But this is like when this is like 90s when they used to find out these preachers, the church, evangelical church people, all of them pretty much. I swear to God, there was like a 70% of them turn out to be gay themselves, like they were caught in a lewd act in a bathroom. It's just like, yes, yeah. I know I was evangelical church that used to do gay therapy, but it turned out I was gay. What a shock! But yeah, it reminded me of those things.
Crazy stuff. All right, Sam, let's move on to our last two stories, I believe. So why don't you get us started on this one?
Sure. So, Briahna Greyjoy had a bad faith interview or panel with Freddie Dore and Pascal. And
what a guy.
Great guests, great informative details. But I'm sorry, but that's one part. And then Jordan Peterson released the audiobook of his article on The Independent. Sorry, Bobby. The great one is, I'm sorry, but read his article. He read his article. I don't know what details I'm missing. But, and yeah, man, I think transsexualism breaks people's brain. I think they, like, genuinely, both on the left. But we talked about how Jordan Peterson and Kyle ruined analogies, how they destroyed analogies. Yeah, I think Briahna just topped them. Like, that was the worst.
Man, you're
making
fun of my analogy. My analogy was much better than this.
Yes, much better. That was the worst analogy of her. Right now I don't know what to think of her anymore because
it was so funny. So the whole episode was about like wokeness, right? That was the main theme.
Yeah, and then they were about an article.
And then they were talking about what does it mean to be African American and all this, which I want to get to because Pascal made some nice things. So some nice points. So that's where the conversation was. And then Briahna suddenly pulls out an analogy about plumbers and electricians. That's the one you're referring to, right? Or were there more? I don't know what point she was making with that.
I mean, from comments about Robin DiAngelo and some of her comments about the TERF feminism, I don't really think she's very clear on, like, I don't think she realizes that biological race and she keeps saying, I know that, but I don't think she knows that because she compares plumbers and electricians to somebody who's, for example, black or white or like somebody who's a woman or man. And are you crazy? You do know that like being black don't give you expertise on being black. Like there's loads of black people who are not as educated about, for example, black culture or black history as the white people. Same with the white people. There's loads of white people who don't know shit about, like there's loads of English people that don't know shit about English culture.
Mm-hmm.
Like what was that? Like genuinely that was like the worst and kind of offensive. Does that mean I know more than other people because I'm Iranian? Like Stephanie Cronin, one of Iranian historians should come to me whenever she wants to write article because I'm Iranian. She's not Iranian. She's American. Tom Hollander, historian of Iran. Tom Holland, sorry, he should come up to me and ask me about Iran. Not he relies on evidence and methodology.
Yeah.
What is that for?
No, you're right.
Come
And
up,
this, it
grow
kind
up.
of reminded me of the Jordan Chariton when she spoke to him, because she was like, yeah, I understand that that like race isn't biological, but, and then she wanted to like
Thomas Chatterton.
Thomas Chatterton, sorry. And she still wanted to kind of come back and say, but there is something, like if I go everywhere, everybody knows I'm black. And then he's like, she was like, if in the US you ask anyone, they'll be like, yeah, she's black and all this. And then he countered her with like the examples so easily and so well. It's like, well, if you go to France,
I don't understand.
they might
And
not
then
think
these
that
people
they
feel
might not
free.
think that you're black. And like me in France, they think it like Arab origins, talking of Thomas Chatterton. So you're right. I mean, she keeps on saying that I know that race isn't biological and all this, but then she like, and I don't think that she thinks it's biological. She just thinks that the experience is, I guess, so strong and so much that it like almost
But
borders,
it's not the same experience.
or
as she
borders towards
fucking
biology.
admits,
Is that
as
what
she
you think she
fucking admit-
says?
No, I think you're right. She thinks it's about the experience, but then again, she admits, and they keep pointing it out. The whole conversation, the second half, especially felt like them trying not to offend Brie because of, I'm sorry, but it was like she herself admits that her, for example, experience differs from other Black people's experience. Black people who come from abroad's experience differs from Black people who are born in America. Black people who are from descendant of a slave differ from Black people who are in fucking Florida differ from the Black people who are in New Orleans. Black people who are in New Orleans differ from the Black people. So there is no, you are Brie. You are not part of any Black community. This is all bullshit, okay? These identities are all bullshit. I am Sam. There is no Iranian fucking identity I can tap into and I have some special insight into.
Yeah,
okay?
not special insight to anything. And of course, and then her
Jesus.
point is, I heard though, she was like, well, no, these social identity classes were created and put on us because they're important and because they're a way of like categorizing
okay.
people. So therefore there is something to it. And I mean, I guess I would agree to that limited extent, perhaps. And I mean, there is, there is something, there are, because of how society is divided and all this, there are some there are some experiences that are put on some people, or some people experience more because of their situation. But
sure, but she's not just saying that. I would agree that, for example, somebody who's Black and poor faces more problems due to the the Blackness kind of adds to it, adds another layer to it, or being of a minority in another country. Maybe you're in a majority Black country where I don't know, whatever is the case, right? But then she keeps trying to make it something like positive about it. And then talks about this whole language policing. And she brings in a personal issue of hers, which is like, I feel like selling out if I don't yet use the language. And then there is this whole thing they talk about, biological sex is not determined. Does not. I disagree with that for sure. And they are so, as a matter of fact, about it, that biological sex is not real type thing. They're so, as a matter of fact, about it. What do you mean it's not real?
That really confused. That really confused me. The sex and gender thing, I really understood it differently from what I had seen in some university classes and all that. That the sex, typically in most cases, there are two sexes, and you're born with these now, male and female. Now I know there are some other variation in time, but most people generally it's either these. Now this doesn't mean you need to fall into a specific gender. That's where the discussion, the way I understand it, that comes between sex and gender. That's the way I understand it. However, there is a biological sex that is from what I've seen, understood.
And I feel like look, man, I told you, and I checked this, like gender, right? Gender was a term used for languages only, like if this word is female or male type thing, right? Gender roles. Gender is a synonymous to sex, right? When you say somebody is male or female, gender roles are not fixed, right? So if you're female, it doesn't mean you have to be in a kitchen and, for example, read poetry. And if you're male, it doesn't mean you have to work out and go to a mine every day. These are gender roles and they are not fixed. But gender, biological gender, is very much fixed.
But I mean,
That's
fine,
it.
if that's the way you put it. I mean, I think we reached the same conclusion, which we put it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
my
I'm just
understanding
gender
was that
roles.
gender means pretty much like gender roles, and gender and sex
Okay.
are not synonymous. And I just look, like if I put gender in Google, it says either of the two sexes. Okay, here it goes so far for you, male and female. However, then it goes, especially when considered with reference to social and cultural differences rather than biological ones. So, I mean, my understanding was that
That's
sex and
Google.
gender are not
Go to
synonymous.
Wikipedia page. Go to
But-
Wikipedia page and see the first time the term was used by a scientist to refer
Perhaps,
to
yeah.
this phenomena.
But okay, if I just add the
Differentiates between
gender roles,
and gender roles.
then we're saying the same thing. Then if I just add the word
Yes,
roles to
yes.
it.
Yes. And that's why English language has these words, because it creates accuracy.
But no, I
Gender
thought
roles
gender
is different from gender. No, but my point is, then again, okay, we agree on gender roles, but we do both agree that there is such a thing as a biological gender, and both of us, I hope,
or sex. Just say sex to make me more comfortable.
Sex, biological sex. Okay, there is a biological sex, and we both agree that there is a minority, very small minority people who are intersex and are both with two.
Or I mean, Brie also gave some chromosome examples. I didn't quite get that.
There are other Turner. I don't want to say. There is other chromosomal problems you can have, but yeah, but you know, am I wrong? Like, what the fuck? Like, again, I mean, some of the things they take as a matter of fact type things, and she's not called on it. Though the guests are too polite on the plumber electrician thing, to me was very offensive. And the gender thing was quite idiotic too, in my view. I mean, it's so offensive, man. The idea that because I was born in Iran, I have some special insight into Iranian. I have more insight into fucking California experience. Most Iranians are not living. Majority of people. It's just so idiotic to think like that.
Or I mean, at least acknowledge limitations, because in some cases it can be more like that. Some cases you know more about where you're born and all this, but it's not necessarily even the case. And it doesn't mean that you necessarily know more
it depends
than others.
on you.
Yeah.
It depends on the person. Depends on the individual. So
to a large extent. So
maybe the whole thing is bullshit. The whole black people, white people, brown people, blue people, red people. Jesus Christ.
But too bad I only got to listen to this once. And I mean, and like I said, Pascal is great, and he brought up the thing that, he was like, well,
so good.
he was like, we keep on saying black Americans and black, like until like the 60s or whatever, like that wasn't even a word. It was Negro. And then like people was like, what? And then he's like, wait, I'm not saying that there aren't no black. Negro is different. You can, I mean, he said it anyway. I'm repeating what he said in quotes, quote unquote. So he said that.
Actually, yeah, he said that. I wanna just add that that was my thing. I was gonna ask this, if you think that, I don't know about this, but I feel like the acceptance of the fact that we shouldn't say the N-word and it's the bad word to say, and I am to this day afraid to say it in a way, and I feel very conflicted. Maybe that was the first word that, like, the left or the civil libertarians or the people who were fighting against racism, they shouldn't have gone with that, because according to Pascal, and I've read Huckleberry Finn and all that, like, it was used among the people as, like, among the black community. Like, was it just a derogatory term by white people used against black people, or was it a term that was just used by everybody?
Well, I mean,
sometimes I feel like that's okay. Yeah, no, it could have been both, but I wonder if it wasn't better if we made that word acceptable word instead of, or a positive word. Because I remember in early noughts when we were going to high school, I was a bit of I was a Democrat. I was a liberal, like, fancy pants, especially then. But I remember a lot of teenagers would use that not in a negative way to refer to a friend or something.
Well, no, I don't know about that. Among black people
in
the US, yes. No, I haven't heard it.
In Dubai, they used to say it.
But my whole life, as far as I know, that's a bad word, and I've never said it.
No, but in high school, when they used to say it, did they mean it in a bad way?
No,
I thought
okay,
they
yeah,
were
no,
being-
okay, yeah, no, because they were saying it the exact same way as like two African Americans would say to each other. But
Yeah,
they
yeah,
were in
like they
Dubai,
were
so they were
copying
able
movies.
to get away with it with saying it, yeah, because nobody
No, I'm
would
not
come
saying
and
they
say
were
it.
able
Yeah,
to. That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying that it was like in the experience I saw, I didn't think because they said that they're racist.
not in that sense. Yeah,
They,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
just
at
like
the-
how
so
two African Americans in the US say
might
that to
say
each
it
other, they're
in a
not,
movie.
or no, in real life all the time. They're
Oh,
not
in
being
real life.
racist to each other, or they're not like hating on each other. Yeah, they can.
Do they
It
do it
can
in
be.
real life that much?
Yeah, yeah. I
It's
think
a
so. Yeah.
movie thing.
No, I think in real
Alright,
life,
anyway.
based on what I've seen, I think so. But then, yeah, so that was one example. But also, like, another way, and I think Bree can look at that, but like, say African American, it's not necessarily like.
No, I'm just saying maybe we shouldn't have lost that battle. I feel like because that's always used to police language, because that's one example everybody agrees on, right? The N word is,
But I mean, I think you have
especially
to
as a slur.
Yeah, perhaps. But I mean,
But
you go with these
even
things
if-
case to case. So I don't think it's like a systematic problem just because in that case, perhaps it was good not to use that word. It doesn't mean that any other word that people say you shouldn't use, you shouldn't. So I don't think it sets some kind of precedent or something just because.
No,
we
I
ban
agree
this
with you,
word.
but I think I agree with you. At least I think I agree with you. But I think some people like it's the only case I think it's been used that is as because he was right to like I don't know, like when he explained that in the past, and I read some works or I've seen some works that the N word is used in a different way, and he said in the past the Black community used to refer to themselves with that word. It does feel like just like a lot of stuff with the culture war and the trans issues and all that, all they're trying to do is trying to wash the language clean, but the power structure remains the same.
Yeah, I mean, definitely
And
getting rid of a bad word doesn't change the socioeconomic situation of people, that's for sure.
Yeah, so sorry, that's why I wanted to
I
highlight.
agree with
But
you
that
there.
was a very interesting conversation. But this is a topic I don't know enough about.
Yeah.
Comment.
But then after that, they also made some interesting comments about, how like, for instance, like universities will like, use the fact they're pretty much like, it's like, I guess like a loophole, right? Because like affirmative policies and all this were technically at least put in place to help out people who are African American, like slave descendants, right? To like help them move up the social rankings. But however, now they turn that to like anybody who's Black. So even like a Black kid whose parents immigrated to the US in 95 and he was born 5 years later than that. And then, now going to university, they'll also be called perhaps African American. In one way, it's true. I mean, it's even more true that the African roots are even more recent. However, that's not what the affirmative action or the way was putting it, just to show how like these categories can be, they can make sense, but at the same time, if you take them too far, they really fall apart, right? Because like African American doesn't really refer to like all Black people in the States, right? It refers to
African American. No, African American refers to all Black Americans, I guess, who are of African origins.
Descendant.
But no, but
but then
again, you can have a British guy who's Black. And then comes to UK and then has a child there. Or is that an African? I mean, it's just, I'm sorry, but if you're going to take everything so literally and
no, that's my point. You can't take it literally. You shouldn't take it literally. That's my point.
No, you're right. No, I'm
when
just
you take them literally, they don't work.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. But, I mean, and if there is the affirmative action, they should clarify it is for the descendants of slaves. Black, white, whatever, slaves.
Which in the US you end up being Black.
Black. Yeah, in the US you end up being Black. It's about a slavery. It's not about fucking Nigerian princes coming from Africa.
Yeah. And I'm sure it was started like that, but I mean, like everything, things, even if they start semi-promising, they typically get twisted and exploited and abused by society and people.
But again,
university administrators.
I'm sorry, but the interview some of the interview felt like such a waste of time because they were people, they wanted to talk about real issues and they kept going back to this issue of whether if I'm talking to a room whose audience is different in believing in my, who gives a shit,
But
man?
Bree's such a
This is like a
communications person,
personal,
man. She's like all
yeah, I
about
know.
targeting audiences nowadays.
But okay, but that's something you do in your private like mind. You don't keep telling your audience, well, you know, if I want to talk about this audience, and who she keeps talking about these people attacked me for that reason, that people. Like, I feel like who cares? I'm sorry, but you know.
But yeah, this interview I didn't listen to it fully until the end, so I don't really have much else. I think it was
But
uploaded
the
last
electrician
night, a
plumber
few
thing,
hours
let
ago.
me know. Please let me know if anybody thinks that was an appropriate analogy of any kind when it came to race. I'm sorry, but that was really,
Or for
really
anything, really.
offensive. Really offensive, really. Like,
Yeah, or
what
for
the
anything.
fuck?
And what about Jordan Peterson? How does he come into play here? Anymore?
So, yeah.
We touched on him briefly, but
Again, trans issues break people's mind, it seems. And Jesus Christ, Jordan Peterson published an article on The Independent. Thankfully, he did an audiobook for us on his channel. And I just saw that and I played it. Man, the guy is just, I mean, what a nimwit, really. Like, I don't know how else to put it. Like, first of all, he starts with this nostalgia for ancient times and fucking ancient Greeks. He kills me with these ancient Greeks and Hippocrates oath and what happened to the Hippocratic oath. Well, first of all, people who disagree with you, they think they're doing the right thing too. And then it's so much nonsense. So much nonsense. There is one point, and Bobby, you know, fact checking and all, you know, he says that, oh, I focus on APA, the hand guide for psychologists in America, because it's a guideline in the most populous democracy in the world. I don't know if you've checked, motherfucker, but India, I'm sorry, but it's like Indians. Hello, guys, we are here. Actually, we are a bit. There is a few more of us than you. I don't know if you've heard or not. The most populous, and then the article starts with him talking about child sacrifice in ancient societies.
Oh my God.
And then connects the child sacrifice to trans issues and trans people. Calls the surgeons and the people.
Yeah.
So
that's what he was doing.
Butchers, liars. Yeah.
Oh.
And again, I'm not a big fan of like necessarily this sort of fad that some people sort of, I think, are jumping on of becoming trans and thing, but at the same time there is 1% of people who are trans or intersex and that type of thing. So and again, at least in Iran you have to have a doctor's authority before you have the sex reassignment surgery. I don't know what's going on in America. Maybe you can just do it at a whim, but yeah, he compares them to child sacrifice, and then does this thing about Hippocratic oath and bullshit, you know. And he does make one good point, that intersectionality has gone crazy and it's just a very common sense thing that everybody, like, yeah, of course, you know, besides your class, your race and all that comes into play. So that's a good point. And then Indian, truly, I don't want Britain to become like America, where, you know, this type of thing is happening. It's crazy and all that. And then he ends it with a, and if this is where we are going, God help us. Truly, God help us. Oh, Jedo.
But you're absolutely right.
Again, if I make those criticism of trans people or trans movement, I have some fucking justification. You have some justification. Fucking Jordan Peterson, a Christian reactionary. I'm sorry. I'm tired of these Christian reactionaries. And by Christian reactionaries, I mean Christians, or Muslim reactionaries, and by Muslim reactionaries, I mean Muslims, coming on TV and telling other people how they should they should treat children. You are the people who should not be having children, or frankly, you shouldn't be allowed near any children. As frankly, very obvious from that weird video you did with your daughter and your son. Like I'm sorry, stop. Like, who are you? Who the fuck do you think? You Christians have more like a history of fucking fondling children in the most disgusting manner than anybody else, and you keep stop. You're hurt if anybody has any proper criticism of the transgender movement. You people undermine it because you are in any position. If you believe in fucking dragons and the message of Jesus, go read dragons and message of Jesus. Jesus. Sorry, I'm tired of these people who themselves are this much into bullshit and disgusting stuff, telling others, like, you are in no position. When you denounce your fake gods and start having some rationality in your life, then you can talk about, I don't know, what is scientific and what is not science, what a doctor should do or not.
Yeah.
You believe in God, go believe in God or whatever you believe. Jesus Christ.
No, and I think like early on, you really made also a good point, which is that like on both sides, they just take this issue way too far and make it seem like
plumbers and
it's such a bigger issue than it is. And, you know, any issue, regardless of the size, is worthwhile and affects some people, and that's good enough. But they just make it seem like it is the most pressing thing that's just going through across all society, hurting everyone. And even on the Peterson side, they exaggerate. I mean, they really make it seem like, I don't live in the US, but they make it seem like every other kid is like being like dragged to get like a sex change. I mean, I think, you know, I highly doubt that's the reality again.
Exactly.
I haven't looked, nor do I live there, but I mean, it just seems like a bit too much how. So yeah, both sides.
Look, I have a feeling I wouldn't like some of the mood or some of the things people do about trans issues in America, right? But then again, I didn't feel great about going to fucking religious school in Iran, or I didn't feel great about attending religious studies in GCSEs Dubai. I mean, get over yourselves. Like, you've been fucking shoving your fucking bullshit for at least 2,000 years down people's throat with no competition, and some other assholes with a competition, and every fucking, they're doing child sacrifice, blah. Keep your panties on, you fucking child.
No, that's a good point. I mean, he does come from like a history and background, if you take that to be Christianity, who's been involved in some of the most horrendous stuff that we've seen. Like
we've been, like, it's so annoying. The same people who in 1990s would shut the fuck up about all the overstepping of the Christian church in everything. To this day, Catholics are running orphanages. Catholics is like saying arsonists are in charge of the fire department. That's what I'm saying. That is what actually happening. And he doesn't talk about that, but every fucking day he writes an article about the child sacrifice. And again, I'm not a big fan of trans like fads that has become the norm now, and this pronoun policing. But you really, ghetto. I mean, I'm sorry. Look, like, yes.
No.
Have some fucking self-awareness.
And you've done a good job today not to get too angry and worked up.
Really?
And yeah, you've done a good job so far until now. So I think we'll wrap up this segment unless you have anything else to say. But
before I start insulting, okay, you know what? Jordan's grandmother. I don't know.
But I think some fair points were definitely made.
No, it's just seriously, I genuinely mean that. Like, I do feel like even if you have a criticism of right wing, left wing, whatever, like, if you yourself is not criminal, but you yourself is criminal in the sense that you also committed the same exact thing, like, you're in no position to talk about it. Again, it's like an arsonist talking about firefighting. I'm sorry, but what? Like, who are you?
All right, Sam, let's wrap up with our last story. So this is an Amber Heard interview. It's only 9 minutes long. I suggest everybody to go listen to it. If all reporters were as good as this reporter is in asking questions in the media, I think we would have had a different... I mean, she asked all the questions. She was like, no, I wasn't abused. I never started it. She was like, well, it says it right here. And then she goes, no, but context was, she says, like, the transcript is right here. I'm reading from the transcript. I mean, if you ask me, you don't see this on like cable TV that much. I've never heard like a politician.
I feel like
say
she
some-
was so criminally, like obviously criminal, that I think the questions were quite frankly timid at best. Like, I mean,
Perhaps.
there is one question where she says, do you feel like, there is one bit where we hear Johnny Depp. I mean, that's the question. She says, the interviewer says, in one question, in one part, we hear Johnny Depp says he wanted to globally humiliate you. Do you think that happened? I mean, that's a leading question in her benefit. Like, you know what I mean?
Leading
Like,
question. Take it easy. This is an interview. It's not a court case. A leading question. I'm not saying she was
objection, Your Honor,
perfect,
leading.
but come on. If you compare to the normal interviews that people get on cable TV, there was some pushback on Amber's bullshit here, for sure. Which there was so much bullshit, and the producers had given the lady enough ammunitions to just push back and not seem like a bullshit softball interview.
No, but it could have been like, there were a couple.
Yeah, of
there
course, more.
could have been follow-ups. I assume there is illegal documents before these interviews. There was a lot of areas she wasn't allowed to go in. So whatever.
I mean, now is after the court, but yeah, the funniest thing is that like now she's in this shit and she's trying to dig herself out. And for that, I don't know if she's reading around or like people are telling her concepts and stuff. So she's trying to like acquire new tools and new ways of like arguing and getting herself out of it. And the freedom of speech one is the funniest thing. But in this interview, we find out that she's taken a second lesson or someone told her more, because the freedom of speech is now connected to the Greeks.
I would not blame the average person for looking at this and how it's been covered and not think that it is Hollywood brats at their worst. But what people don't understand is it's actually so much bigger than that. This is not only about our First Amendment right to speak.
But here's the thing about the First Amendment. The First Amendment protects free speech. It doesn't protect lies that amount to defamation. And that was the issue in the case.
Yes, exactly. You can't go into, the free speech does not protect you if you go into a crowded theater and you scream fire. We get the concept of free speech from the Greeks. My understanding of what that means is not just the freedom to speak. It's a freedom to speak truth to power.
But truth is the word.
Yes.
And that was the issue.
And that's all I spoke. And I spoke it to power, and I paid the price.
Because she brings
as if she fucking knew the Greeks if they hit her in the
That's
first
my whole point,
place.
right? That's my whole. It's so obvious that like now she's like this.
By the
She'll
way,
have
she
to learn
mixed
stuff,
that up.
say stuff.
She mixed that up, by the way. Freedom of speech doesn't come from the Greeks. That's democracy, motherfucker. Freedom of speech doesn't come. That's democracy, you idiot.
But
anyway.
The interview is so funny. Oh, actually, the funniest thing we haven't mentioned, and maybe Sam will say that was absolutely hilarious. But then she says Johnny Depp, social media. On social media, they're all after me and all this. So this jury must have went and seen it, and they were influenced. But these poor jury, man, these guys for 7 weeks were there, and anybody who doesn't like the verdict just blames the jury. But I guess
one of them came out. One of them came out. Yeah, one of them gave an anonymous interview because basically after Amber Heard, she called the witnesses and the experts randos. She called the jury wrong. Everybody's to blame except her. Remember that always. And yeah, one of the jurors came out and said that we didn't believe her. Basically, it wasn't because of social media, and her looking into our eyes was very awkward. Everybody brought it up.
For 4 weeks straight. We're like, however long she was on the stand, she was staring at these people. Nobody likes that. I don't know where she. And then but the interview was also like, this is still not the funny thing. I don't want to get to the funny thing about her lawyers, though. So she pretty much put her in a position to judge her own lawyers. And then she was like, I don't think they did as well as Johnny Depp's.
No, she said they didn't. Well, I would certainly say Johnny Depp's lawyers did a better job at distracting from the real issue.
Yeah.
And you're like, real issues? It's a law court. There were one issue we discussed, like literally. Man,
Too funny.
she's
But
such
you know
a-
what's the funniest
she's
thing she
such
said
an-
though? Okay, so
What?
give your
No,
take
no,
and
go ahead.
then say whatever.
Okay. I would say it's. Oh yeah, Edward Scissor. That. I swear to God, the interviewer was just like, "What did you? What?" Says the lawyer of a man who convinced the whole. Okay, I don't know Amber Heard's childhood, but did you when you watch?
But wait, give
Edward
the whole
Scissorhands-
context because the way she gets to it is funny too. Because they ask a question about the lawyer, and she's like, "Well, do you think this about the lawyer?" And then she goes,
Lawyers-
"Well, would you trust the lawyer of a man
no.
who convinced everyone that he had scissors for hands?" Like that's how
Yes,
she
that's what
reached.
she said.
That's how she took from the lawyer. She moved it to join.
No.
Then
The question was, they said that you're gonna perform, you're gonna have of your life, or you had the performance of your life on a stand, and she said, says the man who represents the man who played the man with scissor hands and who
No, who-
convinced the world he had scissor
scissors
hands.
for hands.
And I think the interviewer and the whole world went, "I'm sorry, girl. Did you think are you okay? Do you, when you watch movies, do you think like it's a realist? Like, do you watch Fast and Furious and you think, what a documentary about cars? I can't believe they can fly with cars now. It's oh, Harry Potter. Yeah, I believe it's a British boy. It's a series of documentaries about a magical boy who goes into a magical land. Like, oh my God, I don't
And
know
then
if she's a stupid or
she
if
said-
she's and she keeps saying, she implies that they say she's a liar and she's a bad actor. So you can be a bad liar and a bad actor.
Yeah.
It's just you're a confident bad actor and a liar. You do it anyway. She keeps implying this is contradictory.
Yeah.
It's not. You're just bad at lying.
Yeah.
You continue to do it for some reason, but you're bad at it. Really bad. Like,
And then I think
I swear to God, I am much better at, like, I remember like telling my teacher like how like aliens came and stole my homework. And it was far more convincing. I had like evidence, better evidence than her. It was just much better case.
And did she also bring up Pirates of the Caribbean and thinking that he was a real pirate, or is that my imagination?
No, that's the joke I made to you.
That's the joke you made. Okay. So good thing I
Yeah,
double
was-
checked. Good thing I double checked.
Yes.
But you know something else that
That
hit
was the
but, I mean
I
the
said
scissors
for
hand thing was
years.
so nuts. I mean, can you blame me? I mean, what's the difference? Why not say this? It's the exact same one. But
Yeah.
you know, one thing that hit me this time was watching the interview.
Man,
Like she was so sad and so this, and for a second you thought like, did she get sent to prison for life or something? Like at the end of the day, if you think about it, in the court case, nothing horrible happened to her. Like the worst thing that happened is that
she's
she
gonna be
owes 8
bankrupt.
million. Yeah, but I mean, like,
and she
but-
has to
But the level
Wait,
of like
man, she has to
sadness
party-
and frustration is as if like,
How-
you know, you were just as if she was a 17-year-old kid who just got jail for life, you know, like is gonna have to go, like that's the level of seriousness in her face and sadness. Whereas no, the only thing that happened is like now you owe him 8 million.
I don't know.
I know
First
that's
of
a
all,
lot,
you play that very. Second, how would you feel if you had to play in a Squid Games to just get back the money owed to Johnny Depp? How would you feel if
Well,
you had to play
if
game to
I
survive?
don't know if I did something that I own Johnny Depp, I would. But apparently, some people are gonna give her movies too. So, and did the
Really?
reporter bring this up or somebody else? Like maybe
Who?
if you stop pissing off Johnny Depp so much, you'll forget about the 10 million. Or at this rate, she's gonna get somebody else is gonna sue her. I mean, if she continues,
The jury, the witnesses, even for defamation.
like she hasn't learned her lesson.
At this point, I have a feeling, man, in 10 years we're gonna see her porn come out. I feel like this is like somebody who just wants to be in the eye of the.
I hope not for
leave
her.
it
I hope
camera.
she like comes to her senses a bit. Anything's happened.
Why?
Just whatever she's doing is not helping
Why
her,
do you hope
regardless of. Because I wish good things for everybody. Really, that's
Oh,
why.
I don't. No, I don't. But yeah, all right. No,
That
it's
was
just I
made
was
evident in
seriously-
episode 1 of the Progressive World. People caught
I
up
think
on
so,
that.
yeah. Sorry, I can't. But no, it's just you said like I was just surprised. Why would you? I feel like I want her to continue her self-destruct. I hope she gives more interviews and attacks more people. Like, this is so
Listen,
much fun. I
there
don't know
is
why
so
he
much
wants this to
entertainment
stop.
content out there. So I wish all
And
the
it's not like
people
she's
in
an
bad
adult
situations.
person. It's not like
Yeah, I
a
know.
child actor. Like, I felt bad for Britney Spears because that was genuinely a child person, or
That's
just
different. That I
this
feel
is an
very
adult
bad.
piece
But
of
this
shit.
I'm saying for her own good, you know. But hey, if she doesn't want to take my
Her,
advice,
I
she
don't give
doesn't
a
have
shit
to.
about her own good. I care about my own good and
I
my
care about my own good a
entertainment.
lot too, but and like I'm saying, there's a lot of entertainment out in this world,
I
thankfully.
feel like
So
you're
even if she
putting
goes
Amber
away,
Heard's you're putting Amber Heard's well-being above mine. That's what is upsetting me.
but I think we've reached, I don't know, with her, man. It's just I wasn't gonna watch the interview then because I can't stand it anymore. But then you said, no, come on, let's watch it, and we're gonna talk about it. And then I'm glad I watched it because I forgot.
Come
I
on,
mean, like,
man. Just try it. Just have one sniff. It's good. Come on.
but the level of sadness, you literally think that like her mom died the same day and she got sent to jail for life. I mean,
No, I disagree. I think it's. I mean, I know what you mean by, but the thing is, she's overacting so badly that it comes across as so, in my view, so just it doesn't look real. She's the worst actress I've ever seen in my life.
well,
Genuinely.
like
Yeah,
the
worst.
But she should tap into, like, there are some real emotions that she can tap into, because
And
now I mean she's been made into this joke and stuff, so she should feel frustrated and sad and everything.
I don't know. I like Michael Jordan in Space Jam is like Daniel Day-Lewis compared to her. It's ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Like, she can't act to say, literally, she's one of the few people that is literally cannot act to save her own life.
But on top of that, I mean, she definitely put with some shitty ass lawyers, or she picked some shitty ass lawyers, or she bullied these, or she didn't listen to the lawyers, because those lawyers couldn't have been that bad. Like, everybody thought that, stop looking into the jury's eyes. I'm sure they would have told her, and she said no. It's not even looking. Don't stare at them as if like
it was the death sentence.
Like, what did they do? And then she would always do this thing.
Oh, they donate. They brought up the donate pledge thing.
Oh, really?
She doesn't back down. She literally said, I don't have to actually donate the money for people to believe me.
Man, she should stop, because I think the verdict left her in a position where she could still get some movies, because the mainstream media a little bit on her side, some parts of it, some at least. At the same time, she got this little 2 million out of it. Like, she should have cut her losses right there. That was a good time. She
hasn't gotten that 2 million though. It's
well, like, I mean, minus the 10, but no, but she got it, not like it made it into her pockets, but like the jury said you're supposed to give her 2 million. So okay. You can use that as a talking point and go about.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about.
She's gonna appeal. She's hopefully gonna appeal. Please, God, please.
With the same
Don't
lawyers?
listen to Kam here.
But okay. Anything else to mention?
No.
All right, folks. Make sure to please leave your comments, question, criticism. We'll make sure to get to them. If not, please like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. So, Amber, Johnny Depp said that he wanted to humiliate you. Do you think that he achieved in doing that?
I want to say no, but I want to say no. I want to say I was strong and no. And I thought playing that for the whole world would show that, but I think he did.
Well, Johnny Depp's lawyer also said that you gave the performance of your life. What do you make of that comment?
Says the man who represents the man who convinced the world that he's the man that has scissors for hands, scissors for fingers. You know how many nights I spent not sleeping because I assumed that there's a monster out there that has scissors for hands. For years, I would think in movies, like, they have to actually do the things to people. Do you know, when I wanted to become an actress, it was such a hard decision because I thought whatever happens in movies, they actually do to the person, or like they're actually that. I remember I was on my like third or fourth red carpet and Gary Oldman was there. And I just couldn't control myself. I attacked him because Gary Oldman, from what I recall from 90s, sorry, was just the evil man in movies. But I recently come to the understanding that there is apparently these things called a makeup department and, a special effects department. And I don't know if you know that, I didn't know, but they can even change how you look and stuff in post, what they call it post. I mean, it's technical jargon. I don't know. I mean, it says that man, that and just, I've never managed to convince anyone in any of the movies that I'm a different character, but Johnny could. I've never managed to do that in any of the movies. Never, ever. And I don't get it. They are saying that I'm contradicting. Am I a liar or I'm giving the performance of my life? What are they saying? I'm a liar and an actor. I can like lie badly. That's a contradiction.
Okay. So are you not afraid that Johnny Depp could actually sue you again? And do you regret now to having published that op-ed in the Washington Post?
So for your first question about suing again, I don't know. But the op-ed wasn't about Johnny. The op-ed wasn't about Johnny. Could have been anyone. I, divorced from 2 years prior that writing that the op-ed. Could have been anyone that abused me, that made me a public figure of the abuse. Could have been anyone. So it wasn't about Johnny. And I wasn't trying to cancel Johnny. I wasn't trying to, make a big deal out of myself because my acting is shit. It wasn't about that. It was about speaking. Truth to power. It was about truth. And I don't know. People talk about freedom of speech, but I get my concept of freedom of speech, and I get the concept of truth from the ancient Greeks. I've seen them, ancient Greeks to the east. I don't know if you're familiar, but they reside in an ancient place called New York. In this place, in this Astoria, I believe, Queens, there are these Greeks reside. And I don't know if you're familiar with the works of, with some of the works of the Greeks. My Big Fat Greek Wedding, I've seen that number of times. I am very familiar. I've seen Mamma Mia, that takes place in some of the areas controlled by the Greeks, and I would again say my big fat Greek wedding, that was really my insight to the Greek and the idea of truth and speaking the truth in the ancient Greeks. You're not allowed to stand up in a cinema and say fire, and that's truth. I've had many mistakes. I have many flaws, but I've always told the truth, like the ancient Greeks in my big fat Greek wedding.
And do you have any hard feelings towards Johnny Depp?
No. I loved him. I worked on that relationship. It's not a stepping stone to richer man. No, I love him. No.
The closing arguments, the Depp lawyer called your testimony the performance of a lifetime and said you were acting. What do you say to that?
Says the lawyer for the man who convinced the world he had scissors for fingers. I'm the performer. I had listened to weeks of testimony insinuating that, or saying quite directly that, I'm a terrible actress. So I'm a bit confused how I could be both.